Hello, welcome to Let's Deal with It Talk Show. I am your host, Victoria Nicole Hooks, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Can some of y'all grab your cell phones and tag, invite someone, share on your page? So if you're seeing this broadcast right now, if you're seeing this show right now, we are on all platforms. So I need you guys to grab your phone. Everybody, grab your phones. Grab them, grab them, grab them, grab them, grab them. Grab your phones, grab your phones, grab your phones, grab your phones. Grab your phones. Grab your phones. Can you grab your phones? Grab your phones. Grab them. Grab your phones. Make sure your pages are public. Make sure your pages are public in order for you to share this. Because some of you um, may have a issue. If your page is not public and only for your friends, you will not be able to share this broadcast. So listen, I told you to grab your phones. We got some great content tonight. And when I tell you I have some amazing people, I have a special guest all the way out of Virginia. Listen, y'all gonna listen, y'all. Listen, Linda. Listen, Bobby and Bo Peep and all y'all. We are going to have a great time tonight. I'm super, super excited. Of course, I have my co-host, my dad, Dr. Daryl Talbert out of Ocala, Florida, who is an author, who is a counselor, who is a preacher, the preacher man. Come on. And not even just that, he's not only just a preacher man, but he's a father. He's a husband to a beautiful wife by the name of Kathy Talbert, as well as he have daughters and sons. So he's a well-rounded dad. He is also he has his own school out in India, 2 schools in India. So God is just amazing in his life and doing amazing things. He's also a financial advisor as well. So you want to make sure tonight you're tuning in and listening to him, because he's going to talk to you all and all of us tonight. Also with Miss Tia, we got Tia, y'all, and we're gonna bring Tia in just a few minutes, because I just want y'all to know a little bit about Tia. Tia, very well rounded, amazing woman of God. She's a makeup artist. She's an hairstylist. She is a beauty influencer. She is the owner of Lala Amore Beauty in Virginia, but originally from Atlanta, Georgia. And then she's also a community relations director for her church, Agape Fellowship, which I had the pleasure to visit. Amazing ministry. She's a civil rights activist and humanitarian. She actually spearheaded a drive that sent a 18-wheeler truck full of resources to Houston and Beaumont, Texas during Hurricane Harvey and Puerto Rico during Hurricane Irma. She has been on several relationship panels, as well as she's a master of her divine assignment as a single, beautiful woman. Come on here, and woman of God. So I'm just excited about her. And then we also have Professor Collis Bolton. He'll be on with us in short in just a few. And so I'm super excited tonight about all the things that we're going to talk about. Now, listen, men, don't get all sensitive on this tonight, because it's gonna be some real conversations. And so who what better to have another woman on the panel with me that can talk about this stuff, because I'm not the guru of relationships. I'm just the guru of myself. Come on here, somebody. But at the end of the day, it's always good to have well-rounded people on the live that actually can tune in and that can actually talk to you all with your questions, your concerns. I mean, tonight, when I say tonight is the night, tonight is the night. So we're going to be dealing with tonight. Why do men make the decisions they make? And we got various topics. We got a lot to do. We got a lot to cover. And so it may just get heated a little bit on the show for some of you all. So I need you guys to make sure you talk in the comments so we can bring feedback. And maybe tonight, one of you can join in with us. One of the guests can join in. So if you want to join in, say, put me in. Put me in, host. Put me in, because I'm going to put you in. I'm going to have you send the link over. And you need to be quick. And you only get 5 minutes to talk to the panelists. So you can't use the whole 30 minutes of the show to try to get your point across. But I give you 5 minutes to talk to myself, Tia Nicole, Dr. Daryl Talbert, and Collis. All right. So let's get this show on the road. Let's go ahead and bring in my co-host, the Dr. Daryl Talbert.
Hey, daughter. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Thank you for joining us tonight. Also, we got my girl, Tia Nicole. She's in the building all the way out in Virginia. And so, of course, you know, I'm right here in Houston, Texas. So we got a lot going on here, and we're waiting for Collis himself out of North Carolina. He will be on shortly. So he was talking to me via text. So he'll be on. And so, listen, we're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to talk about it. All right. Y'all ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. All right. So tonight the topic is, why do men make the decisions they make? And I have been in various conversations on this week preparing for tonight. And I'm telling y'all, the conversations have been amazing. Some have been argumentative. Some have been not fair to some men because they feel like, you know, they're being put in a box, and they've been in a place where they look bad. And then I had one man, he said some good stuff. He was like, a lot of men are the way they are because they didn't have a man in their home. And so it took the woman to raise the man, but then over time, there was some things that was going on in their personal life to where they ended up falling astray and not following those rules. And so I said, okay. And so I believe, and this is me, I believe that men make the decisions they make is because they did not have guidance. But then I also got another part to it. I feel that men make the decisions they make because they choose to. And I'm not holding back on the men tonight. On the women, I got an inbox back last week, Dr. Talbert, and I was told you was hard on us women. You didn't really help us out like that. And so I'm not being biased, you know, so I pretty much look at it from both standpoints. But I just want everyone to know we're dealing with the men tonight. We're trying to help the men. So you know, why do men make the decisions they make? And before I get to you, Dr. Talbert, let me give Tia a little bit of the time, and Tia tap on it just a little bit for about a good 5 to 7 minutes, and then we'll jump back and forth as far as the topics we already have tonight.
5 to 7 minutes to discuss why men do what they do and make the decisions that they make.
Yep.
Well, that's difficult to, I can only speculate, of course, because I'm not a man. I don't, pretend to be a man, but I do think you made some valid points. I think a lot of it has to do with upbringing. I think a lot of it has to do with going against the pressures of society. I think a lot of it has to be influencers, who their circle is. I think a lot of it has to do with, as you said, personal choice. and just not taking that effort to seek outside of their box to try to figure out what it is they may be missing or try to develop personally. So, I mean, I don't even need 5 to 7 minutes because I think that I am more so looking forward to hearing what the men do have to say. But again, just as a woman speculating and through the experience that I have, I'm not ashamed to say that I'm 45 years old. So I have lived a little. So I think a lot of it is rooted in their past and their upbringing and what, the influences that they had coming up, what they seen, what they're mimicking from their past. So I think a lot of that has to do with that.
I love that. Just listening to conversations that have heard, I mean, it really boils down to, oh, my daddy wasn't there. I got a lot of that. Or my mama didn't give my daddy the opportunity to really be a father because of her hurt, her pain. So that's why sometimes the men make the decisions that they make. And I was like, oh, okay. I can see that from so many different angles. Dr. Talbert.
Well, you all hit it. There's so many different reasons to why people men think the way they think. The city you was born in, the community you was raised in, the environment, the crowd that you run with. So the individual, matter of fact, my makeup as an individual could be different from a makeup of another man. A good example what I'm talking about is this. Um, it was this two twins. They both was raised by an alcoholic father, right? One of the twins, when he became grown, he became an alcoholic. And they asked him, why did you become an alcoholic? He said, because I was raised by an alcoholic father. The other twin, he never drank in his life. They asked him, why did you never drink? He said, because I was raised by an alcoholic father. So, it's two spectrums in there. You can have two of the same men in the same situation, and they respond to the situation differently. So it's a lot of the chemical makeup of the individual. There's no one answer as to why men respond the way they do.
So it's no answer for it. That's what
Not one. There's lots of answers. Could be my environment. If I was born in the ghetto, if I was born poor, you know what I'm saying? Or in this side, like when I grew up, when I was growing up, it was the player, the playboy. They came out with the Playboy Rabbit. So, the cool dudes had all the women. So right then there's an environmental influence on you to have a bunch of women. Why? Because you want to be the cool dude. So it could be the environment or the fashion. That was the fashion back then. So it's a lot of reasons. Then truth, a lot of the fathers didn't know how to be a dad. So I can only give you what I have. If I don't have the experience, I can't give you what I do not have. So there's a lot of bad fathers along the way because it's trial and error. Most of the time, I really don't think a person really begin to look at themselves until they get saved. It wasn't until I got saved, then I began to view my life as a man. And only then could I begin to pinpoint the errors that's going up, because under the world condition, I'm right on time. But when you measure up to what God wants you to be as a man, you see that, hey, I fall way short. But in real life, hey, I was the great person as a man, but it doesn't have. So it's not just one thing. You have to take an individual, and ask the individual, why did you make the decision that you made? And then that's only the reason how you can get the individual answer for himself.
I agree. I totally agree. You do have to ask the individual for themselves, but as a whole, I'm gonna interview you for a second, Dad. Yeah, I got through it. Had a monkey wrench I thrown in. Let's go back to before you became a husband. Let's go back there. Let's go back to when you were in the streets, because you have men who are watching us on this platform who is a man. Speak from that perspective when you was a man before you became a husband, before you became a father. Can you go back to that place? Tap into that place. Because if you tap into that place, then it'll bring it all in. Because see, you right now, Daddy, you playing it safe right now. You talking safe. So let's go back. Let's deal with it. Let's go back to how you were back then, and then we'll bring into where you are now.
Okay, well, basically back then, I was a product of my society. My dad was in our life, but when I began to look at my dad life, my dad didn't know how to be a dad. My dad, and I researched his life. He died 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But I really began to research his life, and my dad came from this plantation up there in Georgia. They worked on the plantation when they moved down to Florida. So my dad lineage birth on a plantation right there in Georgia. I guess they were sharecroppers and everything. So when he gets here to Florida, because my mama filled me in on this stuff, when he gets to Florida, they begin to work down for this mining place down there. And my grandmama told my father that his dad was dead. She lied on purpose. She knew the man wasn't dead, but because they had split up. So my dad tells me stories of how, they slept in the bed and he can see the stars because of the holes in the roofs. And, I heard these stories. And in the ninth grade, my dad had to drop out because back then they made him drop out of school to work. They had him to work. He was a very intelligent dude. My mom said my dad had plenty of women. He was a baby magnet, plenty of women. So he had to drop out, not because he was dumb, but because, he back then they had to do that. So my dad grew up thinking he had no dad. It wasn't until he was 18 years old till his brother went down to this other city to do some work, and he saw him because it's his older brother. So his older brother say, "Hey man, I thought you was dead." And he was like, "No, I'm not dead. Do I look dead?" So he come back and say, "Hey, Wilbur, your daddy, he's alive. I just seen your dad." So my dad go to my grandmother and said, "I thought you told me my dad was dead." And he said, my grandmother said, "Well, when we broke up, he was dead to me." So you got this, my dad. So now he go a man who don't know how to be a dad. He has 9 children now. So it's going to be trial and error. That's why I have to sit back and really look at how we was raised. And a lot of it is trial and error. That environment, that generation that you raised upon, it's a community affair because we always in the same community. We stayed one house right here. My uncle stayed beside us. The third house was my auntie. You go across the road, there goes another uncle, there goes another uncle, there goes another auntie. You go right up the next block, they go auntie, go 2 blocks up, there was my grandmother. So we was raised in what was called a village. So all my family, because my grandmama had 12 kids, so all our family was raised right there. So we grew up tight, close knitted. Now with my dad not knowing how to be a dad, one thing kids do is subconsciously men begin to in their brain scan as to how they dad is running the house. So you're not aware of it, but you're learning as to how the man operate. In the early stages, my dad was alcoholic. My dad used to jump on my mama, beat my mom, and all of that until he ended up getting saved. And once he got into church, you had to deal with the dry drunk stage. And then eventually, as he matured in God. So now I'm a product of, I see stuff. I don't jump on women because that's what my dad did. But my oldest brothers, they did do that. Goes back to the parable I just talked about, the 2 alcoholics. I don't drink to this day. While my dad was an alcoholic in the early stages, I don't want to be nothing like him. Now, when it came to the women, now we had green lights in that. My dad was a player. So, in my mindset, that's cool. That's the way to go. Nobody never came to me and said, "Hey, look, get you one woman and that's good. That's all you need." It was never like that. From I was a kid, I had my oldest brother, telling about the women. Both of them educated me about all the women. So my sisters used to put the Jet magazines. That's before your time, but they had the Jet magazines back then, and they had the Jet Beauty of the Week 36, 24. My sisters would put all these pictures of these jet magazines, women in bikinis. So as a little boy, I'm looking at, wow, and I'm being programmed that the light-skinned women was the beautiful women. So I'm locked in on light-skinned women because all the legit beauties are mostly light-skinned. So I'm being programmed that, the light-skinned women are the beautiful, fine women. There ain't no dark-skinned. That's why I never really dated dark-skinned women because of these jet people as a kid. So now I grew up thinking, okay, the women, that's the thing to do. My nickname was Pretty Boy T. So I was popular. All the dudes who had women was popular. So you think that that's the thing to do. So you get all of these women, you put no stops in your life. There's nothing to filter you. You got no perimeter because you got the green light. Now, once you get into these relationships, you play around and all that stuff. Why? Because you never had this red light in your life. It was cool to do. So you got to start deprogramming yourself, right? And the only way you begin it, but by the time you deprogram yourself, you done destroyed a lot of women along the way as you learning, to put red lights in your life. But basically, you are a product of your environment, and just about every man who was in that environment during that time, they did the same thing. Why? Because you program to operate like that and you think it's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. It's cool. Like in these day and time now, a lot of these women look at the dress code, look at that stuff. You go on a lot of these different platforms or like TikTok and all these different stuff. You see everything. What they think is cool, they think it's cool. That's the generation, calling themselves B's and H's. They didn't do that back then when I was growing up. Those were fighting words. But as the generation changed in the environment, stuff that was looked down upon is acceptable. So a lot of time men operate in things that was acceptable back then. It's not till you get saved and begin to look at it from God's standpoint. You say, wait a minute, that's not acceptable. So that's the program. So the era that you are talking about, that era there, I had no control of that era. I had green light, wasn't even trying to be faithful back then. Trust me, I wasn't, because it's the have, all these different women. I got 2 daughters less than a month apart, because I had 3 girlfriends, that's the way it was. So, and it was okay with that.
So basically, you said that your decisions that you made was based on your society and what was presented to you. That's what I hear you say.
Right, because that's the environment. You understand that the environment is real. Whatever environment that you grow up under, it has an influence on you. Just like agriculture, just like orange trees. It's the environment. The Bible talks about that. Environments are real because they cultivate stuff, and it's what you see. And they're doing that era. Like my cousin had on the side of his car, play the talk of the town. The talk of the town. The other cousin had rabbit on the side. Playboy. So these things was advertised freely. You knew Pretty Boy, a guy with Pretty Boy T, he's a ladies' man. I mean, come on, that name alone gonna tell you
Pretty
he's
Boy
about
T,
women.
come on.
Because he's about women. Trust me, I had it on my car. My Z28, Pretty Boy T on the windshield. You know what he's about. There's no way you're gonna think that this
Daddy,
dude,
you was advertising Pretty Boy T.
Yeah, that's on the windshield of the car. That's how we did it in Ocala. We had the writers back then. That's how people still to this day, the old generation, they still call me Pretty Boy. Somebody call me that name, I know he got to be from back in the day. Right. But we freely, you advertise that stuff. Somebody got the talk of the town on their car. Come on, this dude ain't gonna be faithful. This dude got Playboy rabbits on the side of his car. Come on, it's right there telling you.
Like that's
but
true.
It was
that's
acceptable.
So that's so good in a way. What you got, Tia?
No, I'm just taking it all in because everything you said is so true. And one thing I did hear him say a couple times is it's not until you get saved that you start realizing the way to do things. And I think sometimes it doesn't even take that. Again, I think that goes back to being proactive, right? Mm-hmm. So it goes back to being who is your influencer, who comes into your life. That's where the importance of mentors and all of that come in to kind of try to steer you. And a lot of those mentors are the people who are delivered from that lifestyle. So they become then relatable and say, okay, yeah, I thought that too, but that's not the way to go. This is how you should go about it. And deprogramming, my dad, he says it all the time. Sometimes you have to deprogram and purge, reformat your hard drive so that you can go back and kind of relearn. And that's what's going to be critical for us moving forward through this generations, that we have to have people who are willing to be that mentor and willing to be transparent about their past, right? And a lot of times, the more we're transparent about their past, we disengage the enemy, right? Because he no longer has that to use against us because we're already controlling our own narrative, so to speak. But I would say also, my daughter says this all the time when she was studying psychology, is that that's another important tool. I am an advocate for everyone getting a psychologist, everyone going to therapy, especially people of color, because we do have so much to overcome. As I was listening to Dr. T's story, where he's talking about that plantation, it goes all the way back to the plantation, how they treated our men in the plantation, what our men saw in the plantation, the conditions in which they were raised in the plantation. Like, our story goes all the way back there. And so I definitely believe that you have to become your own advocate, so to speak, if you want a better life for yourself and for your children. Because I was listening to him and I was thinking about what he was saying about the parable. It is so true. Being very transparent myself, I grew up, my mother and father were killed. I lost my whole immediate family before I was 23 years old. My mother was killed by her husband when she was 23. I was only 6 at the time. And so my brother, who was 2, same thing. He went one way down the road path, but I had people in my life that took me from point A to point B to point C. So I didn't go that way because I kept myself around people. I think the desire for me was to have a family, so I always kept myself around family type environments. So I ended up going a different route, but my brother ended up going down a wrong path, and he's deceased now, of course, being in that lifestyle. But I agree, like men, I mean, even thinking about my brother, same thing. He looked to the drug dealers and all that as his influences, right? From the father figure, because men want the father figure, so they're going to look somewhere to get it. You know, so they're going to latch on to someone, and we can only pray that it's someone that's going to take them down the right road. But oftentimes they latch on to the person, the cool guy, the one that's selling drugs, the one that got the wad of money in his pockets. Because with the money, he could be the ugliest dude. He gonna pull the finest chick.
That's true. That's true.
So, you know, that's the way they go. So I definitely think that it's one of those things where within our community, we have to then step up and say, even as a woman, we have a role in it too. Because there are a lot of women who make their sons their husbands.
Yes.
Come on, somebody. Like, even when I was hearing his story about his grandmother, you know, she made that decision for him and she made him go out and work. She pretty much made him the man of the house, the husband of the house, right? So now she has robbed him of personal development, doing what he would want to do in life, because he has to take on this role as being a man of the house or a husband. And that was, what year was that, Dr. T?
That was before I was born. I was 67. I was born in 67. So you have to go back to what, about 45, somewhere in that era, 46.
And guess what? It's still happening in 2021. You got some women that really do make their sons their husbands. So what does that do to that man? How does that shape that man for his future wife?
That's good, Tia. I mean, it does a lot to them. I'm gonna pause 1 second. Collis is here, the professor himself. We finally got him. He said he was backstage for 5 minutes, and I'm like, we didn't see you, Collis. That was so we got him. He's about to come in, y'all. So I got inboxes. Where is Collis? Where is Collis? Professor,
bring in my wingman.
Is coming in right now. Come on in, Collis.
Good evening, my beautiful people.
I had to bring my wingman in. Come on in.
Man, I missed y'all. I was in the backstage, like, what's going on? Come to find out I was in the wrong link, so it's on me. The charges is on me.
He was outnumbered, so I'm glad you came to help him out. He was outnumbered here.
Oh my
All right,
goodness.
so where we at in the conversation?
Well, we're pretty much Dr. T was talking about he got a new name, Dr. T. Tia gave him a new name
Dr.
tonight.
T.
Dr. T. Come on. And so we pretty much we still dealing with why do men make the decisions they make. And at first I started out, and just to bring you up to speed, pretty much with the men, they've made decisions because for one, due to their environment, how they was raised, and then the other part is because they didn't have a father figure in the home. And so that was one of the parts of why men make the decisions they make. And then Tia, she came in just from her perspective and what she thought as far as why do men make decisions make because of their society, their environment, where they are. Pretty much the same thing Dr. T is saying as well. So what do you have? Because I'm seeing people's comments and they're saying social influences robbed of relationships. They talking back tonight. Y'all talking back to us tonight.
I think everything they said is spot on. It is a lot of social engineering involved in that, in those situations that cause men to make the decisions that they make. And a lot of us do end up taking on grown man responsibilities before we ever actually become, and we never get to enjoy childhood. Like my oldest brother left the house when I was 11, so it was my turn to step up. And I ended up becoming my mother's husband for the most part. I would make the dinner for because my mother worked from 7 to 7, so she left to go to work at 7 at night, and she come back 7 in the morning. So I got to feed the kids, I got to give them their bath, I got to wake up in the morning, get them on the school bus, and get myself on the school bus. So at that point, her trying to treat me like a kid kind of went out the window because I'm like, I'm doing grown man stuff, and then I also started acting grown with other women. So my perception of time, age, and who I was kind of distorted because I was signing up for things that I wasn't really ready for because I didn't have the proper training, because I was just coming up with this stuff off the fly. And to be 100% honest, the people that raised me the most was rappers and drug dealers, because the most popular dudes in my community was drug dealers. My next door neighbor was a notorious drug dealer, millionaire. So like, he was the all-time quarterback also in the street though. So we playing tag football in the street. He's quarterbacking for both sides. So he's not just he's not a drug dealer to me. He's like a neighborhood friend. So his whatever he's doing in the dark don't really impact me. But these are I came home one day and he was babysitting my little sister. You know what I'm saying? So this is the type of environments we grow up in. He's running around with a lot of different women, doing a lot of different things with a lot of different women. So in my mind, that's how I see self-worth. We end up start using women to validate our self-esteem. And it's just a thing that keeps going. Like the more women you got, the cooler you were. So you just keep going with it. It's the clothes and the ability to get women and fighting. It's kind of the only three things we really deal with in those neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. If you can fight, you can get girls. And growing up in the 90s, the light-skinned guys got all the attention. So if I could beat the light-skinned kid up, that put me on the top of the food chain, right? So like, because I'm still just trying to get dates. I'm still just trying to get validation that I'm not getting from a man at home that's telling me, hey, what are you doing? That's not how you treat a woman. You shouldn't be handling situations like that. Nobody's telling me that. Everybody's rooting me on. So I don't know I'm doing nothing wrong because I'm getting validation for it.
Right. Come on.
And this goes back to like even with men, how they are shaped emotionally. Same thing. That is being praised, but then the emotional side of a man is being stagnant. It's being like suppressed. You don't show this emotion. You being a punk. They get labeled all that. So as you get into contract and views, it's like, okay, so this is what it is. This is not what it is. So then you fast forward down to when you meet Tia Nicole and Victoria Nicole. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Because everything is processed. Every emotion in those areas are processed through anger. No matter if I'm happy, I can be happy. But if I can't be too happy, because then somebody's going to try me. If I'm sad, I ain't sad. I'm angry. If I'm hurt, I ain't hurt. I'm angry. Because that's the only thing people will respect. And I think society perpetuates those images as well, because you can get with a woman and try to show that other side, but they're not used to that because they're used to men being just tough. And some of you get tired of being strong all the time. Sometimes you do want to be weak, but it's no real space for it. So therefore you don't tap into it. And it just keeps us making decisions, not based upon who we truly are, but who we're making those decisions based upon who we're trying to impress. Like a lot of the times I dated women in high school and college, not because I really liked her, but because I knew other people would give me props for it. That don't mean she was my type though.
So I have a question. So where does the respect for your mother, how does that shape, what role does that play in these environments that you all were raised in? And how does that then in turn dictate how you treat women? Because, you know, you hear people say, you know, would you treat your mother like that? So even though your mother had you like that, how did you view your mother? And let's be real here, because some men, they didn't really respect their mother.
That's what I'm about to tell you. Like, I respect my mother because she's my mother. But if I'm analyzing her decision making when it came to picking men and who she dated, I didn't have a lot of respect for that because I didn't respect the men that she dated. Men beating on and stuff like that. I don't respect them men. So therefore, her as a woman, I'm not really even analyzing that. I'm not even old enough. I just know this is my mother and I respect my mother. So I grew up trying to treat women better than I seen my mother get treated. But at the same time, also still having a certain level of animosity towards women because she allowed herself to be treated that way.
And in my situation now, my mom, to this day, I got the utmost respect. There's God, and then there's my mother. My mother only with my dad. That's the only man she was with her whole life. You know, so my dad broke in my mama virginity. That's the whole man. And my dad cheated on my mom. So, you know, she had, you know, some people say, well, he cheated, I'm gonna go cheat. But my mama had character. So as a kid, you know, I'm watching this. I'm watching my mom and how she deal with situations, and subconsciously, everything is subconscious. Subconsciously, a man will marry somebody the way his mom. That's not 100%. So yes, now I had women that I played around on, but I wouldn't marry. You know, so you pick. When I look at some of the women I picked, they was just like my mom. My dad can just mow over my mom, you know, because he was the dominant role. And a lot of women I pick, I can just mow over them too, you know, because that's the same thing. And I remember the first time I moved in with a girl, I think I was like 18 or 19, and she said, Dara, can I go over here? You know, subconsciously, you don't even know it, you pull. I say no. She said, why? I said, because I said so. Well, you know where I get that from? I used to hear my mom say, well, but can I go over here? No. Why? Because I said so. So this stuff just coming out. I ain't trying to say it, but it's just, you know, because when you get into that situation, you're gonna pull from this computer, because the computer stores stuff as to how did your dad handle it. So subconsciously it'll come out and you find yourself mimicking the individual. That's why in the DNA is so powerful. You can have a man who never met his dad in his life. The dad can live in Africa. And people who knew his dad and he never met and say, boy, you acting just like your dad. Well, how could this be possible when the man never, ever met his dad? Why? Because the DNA is real. The DNA makes you up. I'm made up of two people. And that's helped me to understand my daughter. You know, God said, hey, you talking about your daughter. She only made up of two people. You and your wife. She present one of y'all personalities, one of y'all characteristics. And normally the one that you don't like, that's you. You know, so you're clashing with you and that individual. So to your question is this: men got women that they would play with, then they got women that they would marry. Remember that. There's women you would play with, then there's women you would marry. Everybody I was involved with, I wouldn't marry. Everybody I had sex with, you better believe I wouldn't marry. You know, when I come to my mom, even to this day, I put it on Facebook. I tell my daughters, hey, be like your grandmama, man. Your grandmama, you know, my mama is what I shoot them at, my daughters, you know, be like your grandmama. Your grandmama had one man a whole life. How many women can say that? So in my situation, my mom is like up here. Trust me, she's up here. You know, I love that lady to the death because of the fact that, you know, her character. You know, a lot of times it's her character. She never compromised her character. When she had opportunities to compromise, she didn't.
And when he's speaking about us making that women that we lay with and women that we stay with and women that we play with, we make that decision early. Like I'm talking about within about a week or two, we know exactly where we're going to place you at. And when a man makes his mind up on something, it's very hard to shift them. So we start off shopping for rings for you. Now you can moonwalk us back into the parking lot outside of the ring shop. But if we start outside in the parking lot, it's gonna be hard to get me inside that mall looking at rings.
Gotta say moonwalk.
For real.
Oh my goodness.
So did that answer your question?
It did. And one thing that I thought about when you were talking is that women really do play a huge role in this.
Yeah,
like, we really do. Yeah, the absence of the father is one thing, but women definitely play a role in it. And a lot of times these men prey on women who don't know their own values. A lot of times, you know, a lot of times, my grandmother, my mom, same thing, stayed with men, but it's because they themselves were seeking something out. They themselves were feeling a void that they had in their lives. They didn't have the value. I always tell people the worst thing the enemy could have done was let me understand my worth, because it's over. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So a lot of times women stay with these men because they feel like there's nowhere else to go. You know, like my grandmother didn't have a job. My grandfather was the breadwinner. Where was she going? She wasn't anywhere. So cheating, all of that, yeah, they dealt with all of that because of the alternative. You know, I got 5 kids. Where I'm going?
That was my mother's situation. She had 5 kids.
Yeah.
And she had abandonment issues from the past. So she was my mother was adopted. So therefore she had abandonment issues. So all that ties into it. Like she was a hurt person, just like, you know, sometimes mama be just a little girl. Sometimes.
Right.
And
Come on.
She just trying to manage her pain and figure it out while she's trying to raise 5 kids. So
you have 2 dysfunctional, codependent people in a relationship trying to figure it out, trying to make it work.
Correct.
Yes.
And
raise up children in these environments.
And it impacts your experience heavily. And like you're trying to process all this at such a young age. And it all just filters in I just want to be cool and I want to have a good time. And being cool and having a good time, unfortunately, and even as young as 3 and 4 years old, I could see women looking at they say, "Oh, he's gonna be a little heartbreaker. He gonna have all the girls." Like that's
program.
You know what I'm saying? And like you were saying, like your brain is a computer, so you download that into the kid's hard drive, and when he gets in certain situations, he's going to upload that information, and that's what you're gonna deal with.
I want to read something someone said. My husband shows no emotion until he explodes. See? That's what I'm talking about right there. Yeah. That's why I say therapy is so critical to us, even before you get married. People shun that away, but counseling, wise counsel before you enter in a covenant, into a relationship, that is so important because there's so much to unpack. And a lot of times you won't even see it until that trigger is pulled, pressed on, and then all of a sudden it all blows up. But your husband, I really would suggest that he get a therapist, and we got to take the stigma out of that, especially for our Black men. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy and trying to figure out what your trigger points are, why you're exploding, because 9 times out of 10, sis, it has nothing to do with you.
Right. That's called passive aggressive, and it's knowing what you are. I'm passive aggressive. Passive aggressive people can take a lot of pressure. And it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. Well, it was a whole bunch of other weight on the camel's back before that little straw. So it was just that straw that triggered it. And so understanding who you are, I had to understand that, Daryl, you're a passive aggressive dude. Once I understood I was passive aggressive, I stopped allowing it to build up. You know, I got to cut it out because if you just pack it, when it goes, you know, they're like, you like a crazy dude, you know, because I didn't hit that aggressive side, and you can't really, once that, it's like a volcano. Once it explodes, it's not going to stop until all the lava come out this thing. So he's passive aggressive. You know, that's what his makeup is, and we had to go and get ourselves and find out who we are, you know, because it goes back to what she said. when I was growing up, my dad didn't allow us to cry. You know what I mean, they beat you with cords and all that stuff. You know, people talk about child abuse. What y'all see today ain't no child abuse. What we got was child abuse. You know, a lot of times people say, "Oh, well, it made us who we are." Well, I thank God, but still, it's child abuse. I don't care what it made you. You know what I'm saying? It's still child abuse. Should beat you with cords. You know, you got blood running all out your arm, blisters, and I mean, I'm talking about real stuff. This plantation stuff. You know, wasn't too much from the slave masters. The same stuff. You know, hitting you with these cords, these peach switches this long. They hit you with that stuff, and you got blood dripping all. So they made you angry. So you grew up, and then they want to let you cry. You know, you got these people. You know, my dad was a strong dude. You know, hitting you with all they might and telling you to shut up. I mean, when you quit hitting me, then I shut up. You know, I'm gonna shut up. You know, man. But you had to cry, yet, and they made you hard. They made you tough. And some people, my nature, I'm a crybaby by nature. I'm a cry. God created. Look at my wife and talk about, yes, you are. I'm a crybaby by nature, right? God created me that way, and my dad saw that as weakness, and he wanted to break that in me. But that's the way God created me. That's why I do women's seminar. That's why I can feel people. I can cry because I feel you. God created me to feel people. But my dad, in that stage, and once he got saved and got into God, then he began to understand, but he wasn't saved then. So he saw that as weakness, and he used to beat me and pick on me a lot of times because he saw that, and he was trying to break that inside of me. And I remember telling my dad, because I got arrested for selling drugs, and I got saved, and I wrote my dad a letter, and I said, by me being in prison is not a reflection of how I was raised, because you raised us right. You was right there. You know, I went to the military. I came on, I made that decision to get out there. I said, but however, you tried to change my character, and you tried to make me hard, and now God is trying to break that. And I said, hurt like hell, because God is breaking that thing, because God is trying to get me back to the person he created me to feel. You know, my dogs get hit by a car, I cry. You know, I see people conditioned, I'll cry. And God said, I created you that way. So when you got into your position as a pastor, when you do seminars, you can go to the prison, you'll cry with the people. Why? Because you feel these people. You know, I could feel pain. I could feel people just pulling you. They be pulling on you. You could feel that. A lot of pastors don't feel. You know, I could feel them, you know, and I just cry. Why? Because I feel your pain. And so, like she said down there, a lot of times in the old days, they saw that as weakness. And then me, I had to catch myself, because I was beginning to use the same method on my children. I had to catch myself, you know, wait a minute, you being just like your dad, you know, even the girls, get tough, get hard, get up, when I cry, you're tall, but don't you cry, you know, what's wrong with you? Well, that's what we're talking about. That's the programming that he put, and I'm finding myself being the same way with my children. So you have to catch yourself, because you will respond just like your parents. If you're not, the Holy Ghost don't come and renew your mind, trust me, you will.
Yeah, I asked that because, you know, when you think about, I asked about that viewpoint with the women, or how, you know, how you viewed your mother, because I think going into the question about men cheating, I think a lot of times with that cheating, it's because they feel like they're lacking something, because they're holding women up to a standard that they're not even supposed to be held up to in the first place. So for them, they think they're lacking it. So then they go outside of the relationship and try to seek it in someone else, and end up cheating and going down that path.
Yeah, and well, when it comes to cheating, like a lot of men cheat because they don't necessarily feel like they're winning in that situation. Usually you cheat because you don't feel like you're winning. And it doesn't feel like winning if I'm in a monogamous relationship with one person. How I grew up winning was having a bunch of women. So I have one woman, and then I'm not getting along with that one woman. So I'm not winning on no levels. I don't have a lot of women, and I'm getting along with the one woman. So like mentally, like I'm malfunctioning here. So I gotta go.
Wait a minute, Hold on. Cause y'all done jumped all over these topics, and y'all just flowing.
My bad.
Wait a
Where we at?
Nah, we feed off my sister. She asking the questions.
Collins, go ahead. I had to jump in there because Collins talking about all these feeling like you winning.
Yeah, man. And like in order, like it's a saying that says, in order to if a male wants to lead the orchestra, he has to turn his back on the crowd. And like as kids, as teenagers, it's all about the crowd. It's all about attention. It's all about, you know, everybody being excited. Look at Collins. See how he dressed? Oh man, Collins got another bad one. Yo, you hitting that? That's you? Yeah, that's me, dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I don't even like her. I don't even like her. I like I'm doing this for the approval and validation of other people. So now I'm in a monogamous relationship with somebody and nobody's excited about it. I'm not even excited about it. So I just found myself stuck and I feel trapped. That's one scenario. And then there's another scenario where you really do care about this person, but this person, like women, my sisters have a hard time listening to Black men talk about their feelings and what they're going through because it's foreign to you. Your parents aren't. If you had a father in your life, he didn't talk about that. You had a grandfather, he didn't talk. You grew up not hearing this, so it's an abnormal process to even take in. So now here I am telling you how I feel, and automatically the first thing you're going to do is tell me how my feelings make you feel, which then shuts me down. Now I don't got nothing to say now because I'm more concerned about you now. But I still got something on my chest I can't get off. And every time I come to you to connect with you and it's a disconnect, I find myself going somewhere else where I can find some different type of connection. And you have to mature in your mind and have to realize it's more to lose before you start making better decisions. Like I seen one dude comment, he said he young, he just wants to have sex and party and stuff like that. And that's cool if that's what you want to do. It's not cool to me because STDs are still real. All that stuff is still real. But if that's what you want to do, that's the type of conversation that you need to have up front. And that's my biggest issue when it comes to dating, because women set the standard for all this. But women say they don't like men with bald head. Me and him will go get some hair patches. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just going to find a way to get women. You know what I'm saying? Everything we do with approval and validation. Like, if y'all say I don't like men with skinny jeans, they're going to start wearing skinny jeans. You know, like, it's just going to happen that way. And when we go on these dates with y'all and we taking y'all out to eat shrimp and scallops and all that, and you know, you get so caught up in the oohs and the ahs and the dates and the vacations, you're never stopping to ask me anything serious. Like, have you like for real, like
the shrimp scallops and the shrimps, ain't nothing wrong with it. Ain't nothing wrong with it, Collins.
Look, right? Women get emotional attachments based upon time spent. So if I spend time with you doing frivolous things, you're still going to get emotional connection to me that I'm not going to get to you, because men have to have it has to be something logical and practical for us. So me just spending time with you don't mean nothing, because I can spend time with anybody. You're getting something out of this that I'm not. So you're not sitting me down and like people like, oh, these are uncomfortable questions, but you need to sit me down and say, hey, so how do you deal with stress and anxiety? What are your past triggers and how do you manage those? Like, you don't know nothing about me. You can literally know my favorite food, where I like to go shop. You can know all these frivolous things about me and not know anything that really matters. And then you find yourself in a relationship with me and all these things are spilling out on the table. So the upfront conversation on these dates need to be real conversation. Like me and my fiance, I don't know her. I don't think I know her favorite color right now. But I can tell you all her pain bodies and how she's managing and how she copes with them.
Listen, Kylie.
So
what you got? What you got? Because I can't even say nothing to him right now. He's just vexing my spirit.
I'm telling you, man, we need it practical and logical, man. Time spent ain't good enough.
He's right on point. And that's why I made the earlier statement that the onus is also on us. Like, we allow certain things.
Set the standard.
We set the standard. I think that's one of the main reasons. My friends, they joke with me now because I'm actually dating a guy that I actually am claiming. And they say, we never see you claim anybody. Like, what? What are you saying? because that's just how serious I am about my standards. Like it's no easy way. I'm not impressed by certain things. I am the one that's going to ask them hard questions up front because I don't have time to waste. Like, what are you doing? What's your vision for your life? Like, where are you going? What
and that's key, because you need to scare off people that ain't ready for the hard questions.
Absolutely.
If you scare him off, he can't drag you through the mud later on.
Right.
So if you would have asked those hard questions up front, he would have left you alone. You would have saved yourself 2-3 years worth of emotional investment and heartache. You know what I'm saying? Like, just move around. You ain't built for the pressure. But
prior to him, I talked to a guy who told me, good luck finding a man that's gonna wait for sex. I was like, well, thank you for helping me eliminate you early.
Exactly, because this guy's yeah, exactly.
But the onus definitely on the women. Like, we have to, and you know, and I'm not saying, because the other thing is women think men have to come already perfect, right? There is no perfect man, right?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Come already made.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be, but you have to.
I'm gonna go get me a store-bought, man.
They come in rubber. You don't
add water.
They come in rubber.
That's like pancake mix. Just add water and then it bam, we're starting to pan it, and we good.
I think that's why our dysfunction is coming in at it, right? That's why we got to reprogram. We got to get the training early, right? Remember I told you earlier I'm about to write this. I'm about to do a marriage guide for married people. You know, God impressed it for me. I want to show y'all something that you don't catch. In Genesis, the Bible says the world was without form and void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. The world was chaotic, right? First thing you see that in a chaotic world, that God did not bring a man or a woman into a chaotic situation. So if you praying to God for a spouse or a mate, I don't believe that God would lead you into a chaotic situation. It wasn't until God began to fashion the world and he made the garden, then, only then, when the garden was suitable, that's when he brought in Adam. But notice he didn't bring in Eve when he brought in Adam. Why? Because a couple of reasons. Number one, Adam needed to learn how to love God minus distractions. What happened with us is because we didn't have a true relationship with God growing up. We wait till we become adults, got kids, and you get married, then you try to go to God. And a lot of time that's distraction. And the second reason why God did not create Eve is because Adam needed to know what it was like to be alone. You can never really truly appreciate something unless you never had that thing. And so he waited and let Adam experience loneliness so he can appreciate the gift that he had. Eve was already inside of Adam, operating from the inside. So everything that a man needed was already inside of him. Oftentimes men look for the outside. No, it was already what was inside of you. And then Adam had a job. Notice he didn't bring Eve out until after Adam had a job. We talk about that. That's right there in the garden. You know, Eve came after Adam began to name all of these animals. Reason why. So now if we do what the Bible say, if you train them up, truly train these people up, the kids up, to the stuff that we're talking, we learn this as adults. Kids supposed to know this. My daughter, I have these conversations with her, you know, so I'm training her about men. I'm training her about what's in you, what's hurt, whatever. So when she reach adulthood, she already know this stuff that we're talking about. What Constance said, what you done said. I know what a man looks like. Why? Because my daddy sits there and I have these talks with her. Look, I wash the dishes. So you know why I'm washing the dishes? I just worked all day long. I didn't came in this house. I don't have to wash the dishes. I'm washing the dishes to show you, get a man that even though he may work all day long, but he's willing to come home after work and to help you out because you may be tired. So I'm doing it. And my wife, like, why you washing the dishes? Her turn. No. I'm trying to show her something. I'm trying to show her to get a man who won't come home just because he done worked all day and kick his boots off and jump on the sofa. You know, he'll be willing to go beyond the sofa and go in there. How you doing, babe? You tired? Okay, I'm gonna handle this for you right here. I'm the stronger vessel, so I should be able to go to work and come home and do a little housework. So a lot of time this stuff is in the training of these children. So when they get to where we at, then they won't be having these discussions or having these dysfunctions because guess what? They was corrected at a younger age, and that's the stage in which they were supposed to be corrected. You're not supposed to wait till you get married to start getting with all of this mess inside of you. No, you should have dealt with that stuff before you got married. Trust me on that. And that's why there's 1 out of 2 ending a divorce for that reason, because we come with all this back and then we get unload this stuff in the marriage. No, we should have unloaded that stuff before you got married.
And that's why the divorce rate is so high now. In the
1 out of 2. It's 1 out of 2.
75%.
Yeah, 50%, 1 out of 2. Mm-hmm.
It's a lot, and that's high to in the church though. That's crazy. And
that is because a lot of churches don't deal with things like sex and sexual immortality, things like that. A lot of churches don't really delve into that type of thing. So the enemy runs rampant with it because we're not discussing it. He's able to still use that as a vice because we're not transparent. We want to say, oh, well, abstinence, I don't have just a straight abstinence conversation with my daughter because the reality is I need to equip her with everything, not just abstinent. You just hold yourself to marriage. Would I desire that of her? Yes, but I'm not going to hide her. Oh, they kissing on TV. Let me close your eyes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm not doing that. Because
I used to see that. I'm like, why are you doing it? And then I've had people say to me, Victoria, why are you having that conversation in front of your daughter? I said, I'd rather for her to hear from me here. Then she get out there and they tell her something totally different. She was looking like, well, mommy, why didn't you tell me? Like, why you didn't? No, you gonna hear from here first before it will prepare you for out there, because out there ain't nothing to play with. So I'd rather prepare you. This your training ground. This your practice ground here. So what you doing to you with your daughter? You showing her like right here.
That's the first teacher should be your parents. I didn't have the sex conversation with my parents. I've got my sex education off the back of the bus. And situation when I was 5 years old, my babysitter molested me. So like I'm 5, my mother drops me off at the babysitter's house, and it wasn't her who did it, it was her daughter. Had me touching her in inappropriate places. So I learned what these things were by being in the fire, and then from a bunch of kids on the back of the bus who never had a sex conversation either. So now here I go, after they experimented on me and I got bad information from over here, I'm coming to experiment on you. And it just starts you down this wrong road.
I listened to a pastor say one time that the first conversation that your children hear about sex is what's going to shape their truth. Mm-hmm. So if the person in school teaches them, now you have to compete against that truth because that's the truth that they know, that it feels good, that it, this is what they're being taught. So now you're coming behind them. So you better get in front of that train. Because, because as college say, that's going to shape their sexual health.
Yeah, how you look at it. Like for a long time, it took me a while, like not to be able to control my sexual urges because I got exposed to it so early. And then like before my brain can really process it or develop it, it's like what's going on. Like at 5 and 6, you shouldn't even be having those thoughts. You know what I'm saying? So now you got me at 8 and 9. I'm taking this to other 8 and 9 year olds who they not prepared for, but I'm unloading all this on them. So it's just a real messy saga. I mean, and it's just like stupid juvenile stuff. Like we be on the back of the bus, like, how many hoes do a girl got? And you'd be like 2. They'd be like, oh no, it's 3. You're wrong. So like, I was like, what?
Listen, everything you're saying is right. I mean, I think what we're having in the conversation we're having is bringing in what the things that we've experienced and what we know. College, what you're bringing to the table from what people are inbox. I need y'all to not inbox me. I need y'all to talk on this live because your comments can be heard up here. So let me say this. This is a disclaimer. I will not inbox you. Get on the show and we will see your comments here. Tia, you can see majority of the comments, can't you? And so everybody can see your comments. So listen, if your comment don't show up on this social media live
You
feed,
can't
it's
address
you talking crazy and I'm just not seeing it, or it's just that, So I'm just trying my best to try to keep this thing under control. So if you guys cannot be in my inbox,
it.
comment in this thread, please and thank you. Tamika is on it. Tamika, I didn't even know you.
But kudos to you, Tia, for having those conversations early, for sure. It's a parent's job to make sure their kids' wings work. When they leave the house, make sure they can fly good. So kudos to you.
Absolutely.
Hey, see, I see Kathy there, right, daughter? My wife said I had to talk to my daughter at 9. Spent the whole weekend with her, and she did. She they rented a motel, and she went down there, and I think after she had that talk, I think my daughter didn't see us the same no more. She had that birds and the bees talk, as to how she came here. She was real with her, But and my wife said it was an awesome. Yeah, here go what Kathy's talking about. For
Passport to
those
Purity.
interested, called The Passport to Purity. It's a book that you can buy, and it teach you how to have these talks, what to say to your daughter. It shows you everything. And my wife brought that book. They went and spent the whole weekend, and the whole weekend was spent talking about the same stuff, this unconscious sex, period, all of that stuff, that some women never want to talk with their daughters about, and she put it out there. Huh? Oh, it's for sons also. Well, it's definitely needed for sons. Then it's for sons also.
We the ones that need the charge. We need to read it first, honestly.
Yeah, we definitely need it for sons.
The man needs to read that first. The boy needs to read that first, because women don't start having sex for their own pleasure and reasons until they about 30. Most of the time they just doing it because we keep asking for it. Because we they doing it to please us. Like it's a
repeat that again for the people in the back of the church.
Hey, Carlos. That depends now. Some of them, that ain't true. They coming after you.
But look, it's coming after me because you think that's going to make me feel good. But at 16 and 17 years old, we haven't even developed the type of intimacy levels to make them even feel good in the bedroom 9 times out of 10. So they're not even really getting nothing out of it. They're just trying to. I'm not messing with you. They're not really getting nothing out of it. I've talked to many women who are in their 30s who said they've never had an orgasm, but they've had boyfriends that had sex on a consistent basis because they're doing it for him.
Wrong person, man. That's what that was.
But it's a mental connection. They're not even thinking about they're supposed to get something from it, because since the beginning, since they've been doing it, it's always been about him. It's never been about them. So if you go into a situation and you ain't supposed to get nothing out of it, you're not. It's like he gonna do it like it's almost like Color Purple. He just get on top of me and do his business. You know what I'm
saying? With my daughter, I didn't look to, because again, I raised my daughter as a single mother. And I actually had men with me talking to her about sex. So wow. She didn't get it with just me. It was me and my dad and my big brother that she calls uncle. We talked to her about sex from both perspectives. And it was a healthy discussion. I've always had this thing with my daughter where we call it a freebie. She can ask me anything, it could be a customer, it could be whatever. And we've had that ever since she was in school. She's come home and asked me, what's a freak? She's come home and asked me, what is a dick? She's come home and asked me, what's masturbation? Like, she always get these freebies so that we can have, because these kids are learning this stuff in school. And these boys, they are mimicking things that they've seen, whether it was their dad's Playboy magazine or, whatever the case may be. Going back to Jet magazine, is any of those things. But that's why I say women have a critical role. We have to shape our daughters to know what to look for, to know the signs that's not okay. So that's why I had the men in the room as well, so that they can kind of co-sign and validate, if he can get it up, he's going to want it, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So we had those real conversations, and that is the only way we're going to, nothing's new under the sun. Things are going to repeat themselves. So we're not going to be able to solve all the world problems. But I think that the more we talk about it and the more we place that value on our daughter. Because my daughter didn't have her father in her life, I made sure men was around her to validate her.
That's good.
What she lacked, I made sure she had an army of them around her, shotgun loaded in cotton, telling her, you're beautiful, you are intelligent, you are. So she didn't lack that. But we have to be proactive as the parent. And the same thing for men. Not having a male in your home, in my opinion, is no excuse. We have a lot of fraternities out here that have mentoring programs. Get them around great men who are going to give them a holistic, healthy view of the way it's supposed to be. Because as these young men on this panel have said, a lot of stuff is just so rooted in the past. And that's why I say they're not going to come to you perfect. And I always tell men, you don't have to be perfect, but you got to have purpose.
Right. Amen.
You
got to be perfect. You got to have some purpose. I feel
that. You got to have purpose. Sure. Yeah.
And I think, too, you got this one thing that women know, what's happening our day and time is there's no weight put on virginity. In the old days in the Bible, weight was put on virginity. It was a gift. When you begin to understand that it is a precious gift, it's a precious commodity. And when you know people, and a lot of times you got to have somebody that you can model. I had 5 sisters, but this one particular sister, my dad guarded her more than anybody else because she was super smart, but he knew, and he guarded her, and everybody knew that she grew up as a virgin, right? So when I had daughters, I had somebody to look to. Be like your auntie. Your auntie, she's 30, still a virgin. She was deep into the church too. She's still a virgin and everything. Be like your auntie. My daughters at 18, they made it to 18, because they had a thing. I remember on graduation night, I stepped to them and said, hey, y'all did everything I told y'all, do whatever now. But they had a role model. I put weight on your virginity. It's valuable. It's gold. Once you give the gold away, you can't get the gold back. Once the package been opened, you can't plug it back up. The package is open. And because society in this day do not put the weight on it, the women don't see it as valuable. And if you don't value something, it's easily given away.
And we're definitely not going to value it. We don't value it for sure. And if you're not valuing it, you definitely can't expect us to. It just is not going to happen. We men do what women allow us to do for the most part, and I'm a testament to that. The reason why I can talk about these topics in details because it's not me passing judgment on anybody, because I am what you would consider like a top class F-boy. If anybody know what that is, like in my younger days, I had more to me, but I was more concerned about pleasing everybody else than I was concerned about pleasing myself internally. I can even remember encounters being with women and in the middle of doing it, asking myself, why am I doing this? You know what I'm saying? To the point where I got to fake it just to stop it because I don't want to do it no more, like being conflicted and convicted while I was doing it. So I always had more to me, but I just was chasing validation and approval. And what he said was true. He had somebody that he can look to and say, this is what you need to be chasing after. I didn't have that. And so for the guys out there that don't have that, you can always look through television, because I looked at, man, listen, to this day, you can't tell me nothing about Phylicia Rashad. You hear me? You can't tell me nothing. Claire Huxtable was my boo. And I was gonna find me a woman like Claire. You hear me? She was submissive when she needed to be submissive, and she still back cliff down when she needed to be back down. And that was my ideal woman that I was gonna chase. So I had to get my act together. So when I came across Claire Huxtable, I will be ready for it. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the key. Claire did not allow him. And the thing about men that I do know about men is when a man really loves you and he's going to do whatever to figure himself out to get himself together.
Come on.
But you have to be that woman with that standard. You have to be that woman that's going to say, okay, you go over there until you get your whole life and I'm good over here.
Yeah, come on. It's just a look. Just give him a look and he'd be like, oh, yeah, I got to get this together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So I just want to I want to shift it just a bit because it's got to get juicier. And so this juicier part that we got to deal with, because look at Daddy done sat there like, hold on to your seatbelt.
Now, I don't know what you throwing. I'm just ready for it.
Let's deal with this situation. Let's deal with it. Where did men go wrong in marriage? Let's deal with that. Where did men go wrong in marriage?
How you figure we went wrong in marriage? Where'd that come from?
That's a question.
Give me some examples. What you mean?
Exactly.
I mean,
so where did men go wrong in marriage? In other words, why is it that it's hard for some men who are married to connect with their wives?
Oh,
We didn't have no connection in the beginning. Like I said, it starts off in them conversations at the dinner table. We eat no shrimp and scallops. And you just ask me if the food good. I said, yeah, it's good. And then we go back to the house and then we have sex. And then we, in the midst of us eating out and having sex, only thing we doing is waiting for the time when we go eat out again and then have sex. But we ain't having no real dialogue or conversation. So I was never connected to you. Like, a man can be with you for years and truly never be connected to you. That's why he can leave you after 3 to 4 years of being with you and go marry somebody else that he met 6 months ago because he actually has a connection with her. Like, it's like y'all don't understand that. Like, y'all don't understand that because y'all connecting with us, that doesn't mean we're connecting with you.
right.
So the question, the backup question to that is, if you know you're not connected, then why continue? Why even ask that woman her hand in marriage? Why?
Pressure.
Well, there's plenty of reasons.
Yeah.
Come on, Dr. T. What's your reason?
Well, it's plenty of reasons, right? Let me add on to the first question. Let's go. Everything's read in the Bible. The Bible say that animals had mates. So all the animals have mates. God said something very interesting, but it was not a suitable mate for Adam. Now, Adam could have went and grabbed one of the cows, the female cows, and say, this is my mate. It would have been his mate, but it was not a suitable mate. So right there in the beginning, God is telling you there's plenty of people you can make your mate, but make sure you find a suitable mate, one that's bone of your bones, flesh of your flesh, one that can talk. You don't have to be the same, but you can have the same purpose, because sometimes it takes the opposite inside of you to clash to make you who you really are. Mm-hmm. A lot of people get married for different reasons, so it's no one answer. Some people, the woman may have money, then it can go back to what Carla said. The woman could be gorgeous and they want the fame. Oh man, Darren married this gorgeous woman. He married such and such. Oh man, he got that. He married her. She bad, so it could be the fame behind the woman, it could be they just lonely. It could be that the woman may have stimulated him. It can be sex. A lot of people get married behind sex. The sex is awesome, so I'm gonna marry you because the sex is good. But then that'll pan out after a while, because once the sex stops, if that's the reason why you married him, you're in trouble. So there's no one particular reason as to why a man would marry a woman that he's not compatible with, because it happens every time, and that's why it's 1 out of 2 who end in a divorce. I really believe that if a person sit down and pray to God, I mean, seriously, seek God, that God, and it's throughout the whole Bible. I go you scripture by scripture. I could show you beginning in the Bible that God brought Adam, his wife, going through the Bible. God put Boaz, put Ruth in the field so Boaz could discover her. I think it was Jacob or Isaac, they went and got his wife. He was at a well. If you truly seek God, God will tell you exactly who to marry. But don't confuse God's voice as your voice, because sometimes you'll say, God told me to marry. No, that was you. That was you. And one thing, when I do marriage counseling, I ask this question all the time. Did you pray about this individual? Did you sincerely pray, and did God tell you that was your mate? They'll say yes. I asked the other person, both of them will say yes. I say, if that be true, then God already know what's going to happen along that path, and he wanted to happen to you because he knew it was going to happen, And so when you find yourself going through that hell or whatever, it was designed by God to help you to become who you were. Because if he truly sent that person, he already know if they cheated on you. He knew they was gonna cheat. Why would he bring it? God ain't dumb. You know what I'm saying? So there's a reason why. So all this logic, when he sends the person to you, he already knows the beginning from the end, what you're gonna go through. I ain't talking about people. So 9, 10 times, I don't think that God sent a lot of these people. Me and my wife, I knew my wife from the 6th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. You know, I was her first. Trust me, I was. We broke up. That's why I was able to circle back around. You know what I'm saying? Once you have the keys first, you always keep the keys. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? College, you always keep the keys. You know what I'm saying? You ever park your car in the garage first, you always keep the remote control to the garage. You know what I mean? They may run you off, but you still got the remote control.
Go with the story, man. Go with the story.
So I listen to it. So years later, we come back together, right? So I'm thinking, I prayed to God. I prayed, God, you know, who I need to marry. He told me, you know, because my wife couldn't have kids at that time. She's just gonna be your wife. The sign. I told this before. So I'm thinking, okay, cool. We ain't gonna have no problems. This gonna be a cakewalk. No, it was clashes along the way. To the point is my wife is aggressive, like, you know what I'm saying? And I needed her to be that firmness because I'm the type of dude, I'm a lawnmower. Other women, I ran them over, but I needed a stump. You try to run that lawnmower over that stump, it's gonna break the blades. But I needed that. So it was the resistance. And at the beginning of the marriage, I couldn't understand. It was frustrating to me. But as I matured in God, I began to understand that it was these clashes that was maturing me. I would never become who I am today had I married somebody else. I needed her. I needed the clashes. I needed the inconsistency. I needed everything that she put me through for. I needed all of that. Why? Because I had to learn. When I pastor people now, when I do marriage counseling, I face it all. People ain't like, there, Pastor Talbot, we done went through problems. You know, y'all see us on Facebook. Y'all see us later. Y'all looking at 15 years later. Y'all ain't looking at the first year, you know, when I had hair and all that stuff. Y'all don't see all of that stuff.
Different animal got here.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But so my point is this. God knew that she was going to bring what she brought to me, and I was going to bring what I brought. That's how I matured. So when he bring people to you, don't mean y'all ain't gonna clash because it's two different people. Don't mean y'all ain't gonna have no problems. A true marriage is being able to work out the problem. True love, I say this all the time. Love not tested is not love at all. People, we never argue, we never got in the fight. But I don't know if y'all in love till y'all clash. Even God had to prove his love. How? Went through hard testing, the whip, the slaps, the spit, all of that, the nails, all of that. He had to prove that he loved me, his bride, as the church. So it's these hard times that put you all together. And I said all that to say this. You got them. I believe that if you truly have heard from God, then you can work through anything. If both of you all have heard from God, not because your pastor said that was your mate, some prophet said he was coming and you believe, you know, you sold into the prophet and that you believe that. I'm talking about sincere stuff, fasting and praying, and God will lead you to that person, and that person will enhance you to make you become who you are, because God sent them and you knew that you needed that clashing to become who you are.
You know, I think, you know, when you think about why men get married and or for what reasons do they get married? What was the question? Isn't that what the question was?
Yes. So and they know they're incompatible. They know the woman incompatible, and they
goes back to that brokenness, right?
Where did the men go wrong in the marriage when it comes to them being when it comes to connecting with that woman? Where did they go wrong?
Yeah, that goes to that brokenness and that codependency that I was talking about. And a lot of times that seemed like that would be like the perfect connection, right? And so they latch on each other. It becomes like a survival thing. Like we're going to need each other to survive. I think that's one reason. But also, listen to Dr. T, as I call him now. You know, I think regardless of whether God ordained the covenant or if you were married before either one of you even knew God, because let's be real, a lot of people get married before they even come to Christ, right? Either way, you're going through something. It doesn't matter. You know, I have seen relationships where God was nowhere in the space when they decided to get married and got married. However, they both sought Christ for their relationship. God honors the covenant.
There you go.
So I have this whole thing about my interpretation of the whole marriage thing, because I know that there are some people who God ordained to be together and they never went to a courthouse and got a piece of paper. But to me, it is what it is. I mean, we know in that time, you know, they didn't have marriage certificates that they signed off. God presented the mate. And that was who your mate was. That's just what it was. You know, when Boaz got married, what they just made sure that, you know, she didn't belong to anybody else. Hey, everything's clear. That is good. Go. You marry off, right? So it's just was that. So again, it goes back to you being whole yourself. You know, this whole 50-50, we complete each other type thing. No, you have to really work on yourself. You have to really deny yourself, right? And again, I try not to assume everybody in the audience is all in Christ. They know the Bible, they all in God, right? I try to make sure I try to keep it as plain as possible as not to overwhelm the audience. So that's where my standpoint often comes. Now I can read, my dad is a preacher, so I can read the Bible front to back, you know, don't get it twisted. However, I know with my ministry, I try to be more relatable. I try to touch those people who are just really trying to hold on to some type of hope, right? So when it comes to males marrying or even women marrying, again, you have to, you know, we kind of touched on all the reasons why a lot of times men get married. Sex, I don't want nobody else to have it, so let me go ahead and lock it down. Knowing good and well, if the next one come rolling by, you probably gonna sleep with that one too. But let me pee on this tree though, because this is my territory right here. So let me go to at least go and pee on this tree.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Let me pee on this. Come on.
So we're gonna anchor this one down. But again, that goes back to what we were taught in deprogramming, right? So it's twofold. The man has work, the man has a responsibility, the woman has a responsibility. Because at the end of the day, a man is only going to do what you allow them to do. You know,
that keeps coming up. That the man is only allowed to do what the woman allows them to do. Bentley. No.
let me ask you a question. Right? I want to ask.
Let Bentley speak.
Yeah.
He got something to say. Let Bentley speak. He want to get in this conversation.
From out of the mouths of babes, what
you got for us, Billy?
Yes, I understand.
There you go.
Okay, so with
I want to ask another question, though, ladies. Like we're talking about why men don't emotionally connect in marriage. Do you think, as women, do y'all think men would want to get married if it wasn't something that y'all truly desired and wanted? Do you think we want that for ourselves without y'all being the driving force of that narrative? And when we know when we get with a woman, we know the end goal for her probably is somewhere with marriage. Do you think we would want that if that wasn't y'all's thought process first?
No, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because again, going back to the person I'm dating, I think he is trying to figure out why I have not pressed him to marriage.
Yeah, what I'm saying is,
what I'm saying, right? Hold on, Teal.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Did Teal just say here on public live?
She did.
She dated somebody.
Didn't I just tell y'all people get shocked when I say that?
She did. She said she dating somebody and she ain't pressing
There
for
is a
marriage.
God. There is a God. You mean to tell me Tia Nicole is acknowledging publicly that she's dating someone?
I am dating someone.
Yeah, where you been, daughter? She said that.
She
I
said,
heard it,
yeah, she said she was repping
but I was
somebody.
thinking that she was just saying like with her girlfriends, you know, when she was dating, you know, then. But she said it again, and I'm like, wait a minute, not Tia, not
Yeah.
not
Now,
Tia.
I ain't saying he the one. I ain't saying that. We're still in these early
Here we go. Here we go. I ain't messing with you.
Well, we
No,
still
but-
at the stage where he is being acknowledged.
But no, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to marriage, women are the driving force behind marriage for the most part. Y'all fantasize about it, y'all dream about it, y'all play your Barbie dream house about it. We don't do that. Y'all are practicing marriage from the time that you're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And raising.
And you right, and you right
You know
about
what we're doing at that time? We're playing with wrestlers. I'm trying to slam somebody. I'm G.I. Joe. I'm shooting the gun. We're playing cops and robbers. So we're not practicing for that. We're not rehearsing for this role that we're going to have to do later on in life. You've been rehearsing since 5 and 6. I just started thinking about it when you started talking to me about it.
But we
Yeah,
were
I
in many cases,
Kylie,
though.
That's good, Kylie.
I
No.
can't tell you right now, Kylie. I'm putting you on mute.
I'm telling you.
No, in
That's
many
good.
cases, well, hold on, Collins. Now, in many cases, we are rehearsing the wrong way, though.
But you're still rehearsing.
We are set up for failure with the way we are rehearsing, even though we're rehearsing for it. Because even when Victoria was on this live today, I had to hang up from it because the guy said, "Do the women know how to cook?" And I almost flipped my wig when he said it because I was like, what does that have to do with anything? You know, do women know how to cook?
I need full context now because hold on now. See, because I mean, the one of the most beautiful things you can do for a man is nurture his body. Now, come on now. His cholesterol don't cut up now. His gout don't flare up. Come on now.
No, we were talking about the man being a provider, and then we were talking about submission. And his response to us when we said something about him being a provider was, "Well, do the woman know how to cook?" What does that have to do with you fulfilling the role that God has ordained you to do as the man of this home and the covering? He didn't say your wife needed to be the one to know how to cook. He didn't say that. So my point is, you are absolutely right.
What size was this man? He might be an eater. Is he somebody that really cares about eating a lot? I'm just saying.
But then guess what? That goes back in the dating stage. Because to some people, that's important. You gotta understand some people that is important. Some men, their wife gotta cook that breakfast, that lunch, and that dinner. That's important to them.
I'm sorry, Dad, not just to cut you off, but there's some men I have met men that was like that. That wanted a woman who wanted to cook, clean breakfast, lunch, dinner, and I'm not there. I'm not her. I'm not.
See? Well, there you go. So y'all know that, and guess what? Y'all will get married anyway, expecting something different to happen. He's not gonna drop his criteria to what he want, you know. And then you not that cook, and y'all gonna have problems. So that's back to what we're talking about. All this stuff is so important that it has to be put out up front. You know, I'm not a cook.
And then
you know what I'm saying?
And this is another thing, and it goes into where do men go wrong? I feel like this is how I'm taking the lead on this. I believe where men go wrong at they be trying to get us women to be like they mama. And I'm not
Yes, that's what I said. Yep.
I'm not your mama. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm not her. If you looking for her, you need to go back to her. That's just what it is. I'm not your mama. I'm a woman.
I will say that codependency she was talking about is something that we suffer from without acknowledging it. So like my mother having alcoholism and drug abuse issues caused me to want to take care of her, but I couldn't fix it with my mother. So I would date women that had similar pain bodies and try to fix it in them. So therefore, like that's my psychological trauma, and I'm chasing behind things I'm not gonna like. This is not who I really want to be with. This is who I'm being programmed to be with because I have a codependency trying to take care of my mother. But that's why I was asking y'all, like, do you think men would want to get married without y'all being the driving forces of it? Because a lot of times we're not really rehearsing or getting prepared for that. So therefore,
I don't think men would want to get married. I don't think so, and that's only because again, what I've learned about most men, what I've learned about most is because they look for somebody to push them, because we women are encouragers. We know how to stroke a man's ego. We know how to make that man feel good when he don't feel good about himself. And so the answer to your question, no.
Yeah, so therefore the answer is
disagree.
no.
I think I disagree with that a little bit, because I think that and this is why I mentioned I had a problem with him talking about the cooking, because if you think about the role that a man plays, right? And I'm going to use my ex, because I am divorced. I used to be married. When I started making more money, it became a problem.
Wow.
Because now it appears as if I'm not the provider in that sense, right? Because you're making more money.
That's
so
small thinking, though.
felt emasculated because I'm making more money. Even though I'm putting it in the same pool you're putting yours in, I'm not saying I never threw it in his face, but it was just the issue that, and I make significantly more, I'm making more money. But you're still the man of this house. That doesn't have anything to do with monetary value, right? However, the potential that I see in the guy now is that he desires to be married, because now, this is why it's an issue that I'm not pressing him to be married. He desires to be married because now, man of God he is, he knows he's a provider. He knows he has a vision. He has an empire that he wants to build. He wants someone to share this with. So he is seeking out a mate. He is seeking I think men, when they get to a healthy state, absolutely, I
think the disconnection between what she's saying and what you're saying is that the question I'm asking is, would we want to do it in general? Just because you're not putting that pressure on him or putting that expectation doesn't mean his mother or another female that he knows in his life didn't put that on him before. That's what
you know what, Carlos? Watch this. I'm gonna help you, Carlos. I'm gonna help you. I was about to ask this question, and it's gonna explain her mate. How much pressure do the church put on people?
There you go.
When I became a minister, the pressure to be married started being put on me. You know, you're single, you maybe you're fornicating, you got to come up under the umbrella. So just because, you know, that don't mean he hold, it mean that the church put a lot of pressure on women and men to want to get married. That's the godly thing to do. So now, you know, he might not want to, within myself or within himself. It wasn't until he got that pressure, like Carlos said, if I wouldn't have became saved, you know, would I really, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of this stuff, the church got a lot of pressure on people getting married. And that's why she talking about, Victoria say it's 75% divorce rate. Why? Because the church put pressure on you when you ain't ready to be married, but because, quote unquote, that's the godly thing to do. That's what you're supposed to do. And you get married to these people when you wasn't even ready to go down that road.
Because it's not a normal thought process for a man to want to sign up for that. So it had to come from somewhere else. And I think that's where a man can go wrong in marriages, because if a woman's already been preparing for marriage and having those conversations, you probably need to break us down and sit us down and ask us, why do we want to get married? What is it? Figure us out when it comes to marriage, because we could really just be going along with it because we think that's what we're supposed to do, not even understanding that, like, how to do it or if we truly want to do it. But we just go along with it because you don't want to be a sucker. If I'm supposed to get married and I see other people do it, I'm gonna man up and do it too. But I ain't man enough to do it. And I don't find that out until I'm in the battlefield. So, and when it goes back to the man that wanted the food and the cooking, I was speaking from myself, like my fiance she had surgery, had a myomectomy in like June. And I bought her a blood pressure machine to check her blood pressure because her blood pressure was low. And come to find out, I'm salt sensitive. So I don't have high blood pressure, but I can't take a lot of salt without my blood pressure going up. So she had to change up and start cooking more with less sodium and adobo and all these different ingredients. So my pressure could stay at a great space. So I think cooking is very important because that is something that we deal with in our communities, high blood pressure and diabetes and things like that. So it is very significant and important. Now, if the man's the better cook, then let the man do the cooking. I'm not saying who should be doing it, but somebody should be making sure the food that you intake in your body 90% of the time is done with love instead of out here in these streets with somebody.
Okay, but it was a rebuttal. To me, the surprising thing was that it wasn't anything about her substance. It wasn't anything about how intelligent she was. How is she going to support your business? How is she going to be a good helpmate? The first thing out of his mouth was, "Can she cook?"
And that's the slave mentality.
This is
That's
how
the slave mentality what she's talking about. You gotta understand. I understand why she would rebel for that. That's old school training that women want to be liberated from that right there. Is to cooking is a woman's chore, and that's where my sister's coming at. That we put that on a woman, that she has to be the cook. That's old school. You gotta understand that there's old school training and there's new school training, and some of the old school training was not right. That's just the way they did it, you know. And that's where my sister in these days and times, like you say, why is the woman got to cook? Why is that got to be a criteria for her for his marriage? Can she cook? So I'm on both sides of the fence, but I understand old school training because my grandma and all those people, like I say, we all live together. So I know.
They consider whenever, if she can cook, consider that as submission.
I can see that, but I don't see that. I don't see that being
submission.
I can see it.
They got into the. That's what they was talking about because it led to while we were there talking about the barber in the barbershop from the submission piece. It led from there to can she cook? One said submission, the other one said can she cook though? So that's why he said what he said.
I seen a funny rebuttal to that one time on Facebook. This dude was like, men always want a woman that can cook, but can you build houses? And I thought that was real funny.
And you know, the reason why that's a problem is because we're talking about where do men go wrong. Because we're evolving as women. Women are holding houses out here in these streets. You know, we're going to work 12, 14 hours raising up empires. So if you come into the mentality that you're expecting this woman to cook, bear children, be barefoot pregnant, and all these old traditions, nothing is wrong with that. But what I'm saying is, but what I'm saying is, if that's the mentality you're going to come in this with, you're going to find yourself missing out on a pool of people and a lot of potential because there's some women out there. And trust me, I'm just as hard on women too, who make all this money and then act like they wear the pants and want to emasculate men. I'm the same way when it comes to my sisters too, because there's still an order to this thing, even though she is a boss out in the streets. But when it comes to these gender roles, now I ain't gonna lie, I'm not taking out no trash if a man is around. So, you know,
whoa. Come on, Kyle. Get her right. Hey, she just get her, Collins. Get her, Collins. Get her, Collins. Somebody get her, Collins. Don't let her be a hypocrite, Collins. Get her.
It's DJ Booth. You can't tell me that you don't have to you ain't taking out no trash when a man ain't around, but you don't have to cook because a man wants you to cook. The way I see it is, right, I do agree women are bossing up in these streets and more power to the sisters, but it ain't nothing more important than bossing up in your own house, making sure your kids ain't eating McDonald's every day, and making sure your husband don't got high blood pressure and having heart attacks and strokes. That ain't nothing more. I don't care how much you boss up out there in them streets. If you come home and after you boss about on the street, you got to go get his medication and go get his toe drained and his knee, and he can amputate it because he got one leg missing now. It ain't serving you no purpose. So I do feel like that is a very important part, cooking, whether it's man or woman. But I don't think one person has to do that solely by themselves. And if she cooks, you better make sure you busting them dishes down so she don't got to cook and do those dishes. It's small things that you can do to let the person know that you appreciate what they're doing.
That's my point. It's a partnership. It shouldn't be a criteria for a woman.
But going back to what you said, I don't allow my fiance to take the trash out. But she also makes sure that I'm eating healthy foods. So I think it's good for him. I think it's good for him to set that criteria up front because that pool that he's missing out on, he don't necessarily need it because it's not going to benefit him none. Because that's what he's looking for.
And that's the thing. Even with talking to the men in the barbershop, even after live went off, you know, we got into the conversation of, you know, this is where men go wrong. You know, the one thing about a woman, I can speak for me. I can speak for me and what I've seen my family do, my mother and my grandmother. But for my side of it, I mean, I work 12 hours a day. If I work 12 hours a day, when I finish working, okay, next thing is, okay, cooking. All right. Now, I was married to a man that cooked. He was a chef. He could cook. You know, that was something I didn't have to worry about, you know. But there were times where he would say to me, hey, I want you to cook too sometimes. And I'm like,
tacos.
Like,
I got
I
you.
can work 12 hours. What you mean you want me to come in here and cook? But then I'm talking to my grandmother, and my grandmother was like, Victoria, you still got to do your wife duties. That man, he ain't
Old school.
every day,
Old school.
but you still got to at least be a part of the marriage. You can't just say, I work all day. At least I work all day. You know, I can't cook. And as I told my grandmother, I was like, listen, I'm not saying I can't cook, but if I know I done had a long day dealing with the kids, the last thing I'm thinking about is trying to decide what we're going to eat, especially when I know you're home. I'm not thinking about that.
I think gender roles are real though, no matter how much we evolve and try to dismiss them, because in my single days, if I seen a woman pull up to a gas station with a man and she got out to pump the gas, she was vulnerable. Like, she was somebody I could take from him, because to me, he's not doing his manly duties. Now, whether that's true or not may not be the case, but it's just certain things like that that trigger in your mind. If I see her living in an apartment and she walking the trash from here all the way to the dumpster, she got a man, and my mind is like, oh yeah, he ain't doing right by her. If she out there cutting the grass, he ain't doing right by her. Now, I don't know nothing about your relationship, but I can guarantee you that that woman don't want to take that trash from near all the way down the street with the bag might bust on her leg. She don't want to do that. There's certain things that we don't want to do. Men don't want to, we don't want to, it's not that men don't never want to cook, but it's the idea of the fact that we know somebody got us. So we don't got to eat frozen dinners all the time.
Now, Carlos, I understand that, but I don't work 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Go behind his home. You can cook.
See, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. I'm in agreement with that. That's unacceptable. If you work 12 hours and I'm at the crib, yeah, I'm in the crib.
And I know some women who really like to do housework and cut grass.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they love being in the yard.
I would do that too. I'm one of those women.
That's an anomaly, though. We could talk about exceptions to the rule, but that's not the normal rule. There's not a lot of women that's like riding John Deere lawnmowers. It's not a plethora of those.
Well, let's go with this right here, right? Let's look at this right here. Let's look at the evolution. You got to understand the generation in which each person was born in and how they was raised. Let's go to my generation. In the household, my dad had set rules. I never made my bed in my life in that house. It wasn't until I went to the military that was the job of my sisters. They would come and make our bed. I never washed dishes in my life. That was the role of my sisters and the women. I didn't even iron my clothes until about the 9th grade. To me and my sister had to iron my clothes until we got in an argument over how she was arguing about ironing my clothes. And went to my mama. Mama said, well, you don't like the way she do it, you do it. So, but the men took out trash. The men raked the yard. You know, the men went to work. My dad owned their own construction company. So that's the way I grew up. So you got to understand, some men are growing up. My mom, no matter how many hours she worked, she gonna come home, she gonna cook. That's old school. So you gotta understand my mentality and seeing this right here. So of course, you know, when I get in the first relationship, you know what, I'm gonna pull from that same thing. It's not till you begin to evolve, evolution, then I begin to say, guess what, you know what, she just as tired as I am. Let me go. I'll come home right now and wash the dishes. Was I raised like that? No. My mindset as a husband had to evolve to where I come home right now. My wife like, Derek, get out the kitchen. What you doing? No, I want to be the servant. You know, I want to serve my house. Washing the
Right,
dishes to
Daddy, but
me
this
is a serve duty.
and
So I had to evolve though.
exactly, you haven't evolved. But my thing is this, and this is where I believe it goes wrong, when you don't, where men go wrong, when there's not a like Tia said, keyword partnership. Y'all not working together, and the reason why it falls apart is because you're not working together, or you have that man who is very closed off, closed minded, as the men we saw today. They just closed off and they just like the way they are. And that's why I said, okay, one of them was married. The other two, they was not married. So how I looked at it and I viewed it from a perspective of, listen, the way y'all handling this, who it's not right. And so as I was led to speak and talk, it was like, makes sense. It doesn't make sense if your woman or your wife is out there working 10, 12 hours a day, but you're home and you can go ahead and start that food. You can at least get it going. Like, it's no
Throw the chicken out, right? Throw it out a little bit. You know what I'm
throw
saying?
it out. Okay, what we eating tonight, honey? Take out those turkey legs, or take out those turkey wings or fried chicken, whatever. And then by the time I'm home, if you go ahead and put it in the water, instruct.
I'm all about that. I agree with that.
But you're kicking. What's what you're doing? You're kicking against a mentality.
Correct.
Right.
It's a mentality.
But
So you come here. You think that the first time somebody said that I was supposed to wash the dishes, I was like, oh yeah, and I embraced it full hearted. Do you think that? No, it took an evolution. I'm trying to tell you, it takes evolution. It takes time. And you think the first time, so this stuff, when you raised a certain way, when people, you could come with the truth, but you're kicking against a mentality, a mindset that I have to adjust, evolve to understand, to see everything you're saying is 100% true.
I will
that
say,
don't mean I can see it like that because of the way I'm raised.
Yeah, correct. And I will say this, because it's about how that person sees it. And I do think relationships need certain defined roles to a certain extent. If not, you just end up in the other person's lane all the time. You can do things that I consider my role, and I won't appreciate you doing those things because those are things I take value in doing. But you're not doing the things that I wish you would just take off my plate. And it's a lot of things in my relationship with my fiance that I take pride in the fact that she don't got to worry about that. And I think she should be doing some of those same things. I take pride in the fact that I know she don't got to take the trash out or roll it around. I mean, if I forget to do it the night before, Friday morning, I'm out there in my basketball shorts and a tank top, running that trash can around so the garbage man can, you know what I'm saying? Like I take pride in alleviating certain, it's a beauty in the fact that some things you just don't got to worry. You don't got to think about anymore. You thought about it when you were single, you had to do them. Now you don't even think about them. And those small things matter. And if I'm doing stuff that she takes pride in doing, she's not going to appreciate me doing it. I'm wasting my time, and I'm going to feel unappreciated because she's not acknowledging my work. So I think we do need to find roles.
The respect comes in, and I totally agree with what you just said, Collins. Next topic, we already had touched on a whole lot of stuff. Collins, you done touched on the men cheat part. The cheat. You already touched on that.
Okay.
Tia, did you see that? Didn't we touch on that? Why do men cheat?
Yeah, we hit.
Yeah, we touched on that.
Okay, and the next one is single fathers. Why do men don't take care of their kids?
Because it's hard.
Why do men make the decisions that they make? Why do men make the decisions they make? It falls under the category of, why does these men have all these children and not taking care of them?
Hard.
We didn't talk on the children, fathers being, so it could be coming, College, you could talk from a single standpoint. Daddy, you can come from a point where there are times where, your kids, I remember you having a conversation with me and how the other kids felt about you was showing favoritism to more of this kid than the other kid. So Dad, you could tackle that. And then Tia, with you being a single mother raising your daughter on your own, you give us a little bit of background on your stuff and your thoughts about it, on why do men don't take care of their kids. And it goes underneath. Why do they make the decisions they make?
I know for one, especially in the early years, we don't feel a part of the process. We don't carry the kid. We don't have no connection with the kid. They just started doing skin to skin with men at the hospitals recently. When you go into those doctor's appointments, you're not a part of the conversation really. I wasn't with my child moms anymore when she got pregnant with my daughter, and I still made it every doctor's appointment. And I remember going to the doctor's appointment. I used to do research and I used to read on things. So I would have a lot of questions. And they wouldn't ask my child moms, was I abusive? Because I was so much involved in the situation and it was just abnormal to them. So with that being the narrative, it's kind of hard to be a part of something when everybody's excluding you from it. I remember my daughter was trying to get into daycare and they called my child moms. And when they didn't get in contact with her, they gave her spot to somebody else. Even though I went on the tour with my daughter and my child's moms, nobody even thought to call me. And when I went up to the school, I was like, well, why didn't it? Well, it's like, we didn't call you because moms usually handle these type of things. So society excludes us from the process on a multitude of occasions. Like it's always her child. It's not yours. It's her child. You're like, if you want to get in, get in. But when you don't want to get in, you better get in. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you take you get all the blame when you're there. You get none of the credit. You get none of the credit when you're not there. You get all the blame when you're not there. You get none of the credit when you're there. And that's hard for a man to deal with, to keep signing up for something that you're not gonna get any credit for. The first thing a kid gonna do is thank his mama when he get on that podium. He ain't gonna thank his daddy. So it's all about mama, mama, mama. Even when you look at the music, all the songs, they love their mama. Don't nobody care about that. I don't sing no songs about that. They got Papa Was a Rolling Stone, and that's about all we gonna get. Every Father's Day they play Papa Was a Rolling Stone by The Temptation. That ain't got nothing to do with loving your daddy. So it's a hard thing to sign up for on a consistent basis, and a man has to dig real deep to consistently show up and stay present for something that they're not going to get any type of fulfillment or reward from or appreciation. No, you're like, you might not even hear I love you about it, but you got to consistently do it. And a lot of times you don't even have a relationship with this person that you made these babies with. And that's hard too, because then that's making it more of a turbulent situation. And as a man, since you already been excluded from the process so many times from the beginning, you were like, I could just start all over. But they understand when they get older. And you have to fight against those feelings. And then you also dealing with the kid one-on-one who is showing characteristic traits of this person that you don't get along with. And you got to fight against those things. So it's just so many different things that you're battling. And you have to be a real, real strong person to stay in that ring and keep taking them blows. Because the one thing that women have that men don't, at least somebody acknowledges your struggle and your pain. The worst type of pain is the pain to go through that nobody acknowledges. That's why people start cutting themselves, because they want you to see that they hurt. Like, look, I'm hurting for real. But as men, we don't have no platform to voice our hurt or how much this child support beating up on me, even though I'm taking care of the kid and I got to go get my kid in the summer. I pay $1,100 a month. When I got to go get my kid for 3 months, I still got to kick out the $1,100, try to find a way to pay for the $600 daycare when he here. Like, you trying to juggle all these things. I got so many friends that I had to send money to just so they can afford to take care of their kid when their kid got here, because they were sending the money still to the mom. So the system is so set up against men. It's hard, especially black men. It's hard to stay in the fight. And I think that's why a lot of men tap out. But I encourage any man that's out there listening, man, just stay in that fight, man, and everything, it gets better as time goes on. And the one thing you want to think about anytime you think about quitting is that how you felt when somebody quit on you, and do you want that to be part of your legacy, the fact that you tapped out? Because don't no man want to tap out on his responsibilities. Not a real one.
Isn't that the life in Christ, though? Working and not getting that reward, but your reward will be in heaven. That's the show.
And I think too, it comes from your childhood. Let's go. It starts right there in that house. My dad taught us a real man would take care of his kids regardless. So I grew up working at 8 years old because my dad has a construction business, and so I grew up working. you know, from 8 years old and watching my dad. And my dad was like, you know what, I really didn't want to get married at times. And a lot of times I started, and he told me this. He said, man, because he didn't get married till after they had like the third child, the third child. I'm down there to the bottom. He said, one of the reasons why I did not, I married your mom and then just take off, because I know what it was like to grow up without having a dad to take care of you. So he stayed there. So my whole mindset was a real man take care of his kids. So when I had my kids, that wasn't an issue, you know, of taking care of them, of paying the money for them. Because even once I became older, I'm a grown man now. I went to the military. I started selling drugs, went to jail. I remember when I got out of jail, I started back selling drugs again. And I remember the family had to be talking about it, because I remember coming to the house and my dad say, hey, let me talk to you. And he just went to talking. He didn't talk directly at me. He was just talking. He was like, and I'm grown now. He go to program, how the programmer stays there. He was like, you know, people talk about this, what a person would do and a person won't do, but a real man would take care of his kids regardless of what they have to do. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. My dad, if I got to sell drugs to take care of him, you know, that's what he was telling me. You know, he was an elder in the church. You know, you got to sell drugs to take care of him. A real man gonna do what he need to take. So I come up under from a whole different mindset. The people who don't take care of their kids, I can't relate to that, because I grew up taking care of my kids, you know. So that was because of my dad influence. But guess what? What about a man who doesn't have a dad in his life and his mom take care of him? So he don't know what it's like to be taken care of by a man. So sometimes it's hard when you don't know what it's like to be taken care of by a man. When you get children, 9, 10 times, you could be like your dad. I heard people say all the time, oh, you deadbeat just like your deadbeat dad. You know, and the mama say that to the kids. So there's a lot of reasons. And then too, that's responsibility. A lot of people wasn't ready for kids. It's kids having kids. They still a kid themselves. And when they have this kid, kids cost money. Trust me, they cost money. They are expensive. We don't think about that part. They do. I know. I paid $90,000 in child support. Trust me, I know exactly how expensive kids are. Kids are expensive, and we're not ready for that part. We're ready for the bed part, but we're not ready for the responsibility part that comes after that. And that's where a lot of men fall off, because you wasn't ready. You want to sow, but you wasn't ready for the reaping part, because you didn't have a dad showing you that you need to take care of these kids. They become deadbeat.
So, I think that a lot of times men that don't take care of their children, a lot of times these children were born out of wedlock. Like you see
Yes.
more often when it's out of order, right? So it's out of
Yes.
order. And so, for me, my daughter was an oops baby. She was purpose, but she was an oops baby because we used protection, and I still got pregnant. But God, in His infinite wisdom, I lost my brother. The last person in my immediate family was killed when I was 7 months pregnant with my daughter. So she was purposed to be here when she was, to be here. Mm-hmm. But her father ultimately stopped being in her life at around 5 because he got angry because I no longer wanted to be with him. So that was his retaliation towards me. And so, however, I said to myself, I'm a different thinker. In my mind, it was more so like, again, it was out of order. So what do? You have to kind of step up, which is why I put the men around her. But at the end of the day, that was his reasoning for not being in her life. And I do believe what Collis said to an extent is that, they don't have that connection. But women, we're the incubators. The men are just the seed. We're the one who have to carry. It's internal for us, Men can just drop those seeds and keep on going, right? And so, so there is a lack of connection there. But again, it ties back to that brokenness, right? Or how you was trained, or what you value. What are your morals and values? And when we don't assess that prior to laying down, those, hopefully 5 minutes, but sometimes it's less than that. And then you end up getting pregnant off them little 2 minutes, and so so now you're stuck with these babies. So again, I think that a lot of men who and I didn't even pressure my daughter's father. I didn't put a lot of pressure on him because I was raised without a man. My only requirement for him was to be in her life. So whereas, some men can say, oh, it's the child support or the money was just so expensive. I never even required that of him because I didn't need his money. So for me, it was just his presence that was needed. And even that was too much, right? Because he had his own hang up about us being in a relationship. So there are a myriad of reasons, but ultimately, as I stated earlier, and again, I got to get on our ladies because a lot of times women just don't even make it easy. We put all this pressure on the man. We get on him if he with another woman. Now my kid can't be around that other woman, and it's all this brokenness and all this toxicity that men just do not want.
And out of that, it's just dumb.
Right? They don't want to. We can't really blame them for not wanting to be in such a toxic environment, but ultimately the kids suffer.
Yes, so you got to stay in there. So you got to stay in there. You got to stay in there. I don't want to give a table no legs. When we're leaving this conversation, I want every man to know you still got to stay in there.
You got to stay in there.
Stay in there.
For me, growing up, my dad not being in my life, I later found out from my uncle because my dad was killed in a car accident. But I later found out from his brother that my dad actually tried to come and visit us many times. He had a bicycle on the porch, but my grandmother, because of what happened between him and my mom, she would run him off.
And that's happened. That happened to my father as well, and that happens to a lot of men. You just get your efforts stomped out to the point where, and as a man, I would tell you this: I'm 6'4", I'm 205 pounds. So I'm not a little guy, at all, and I've never had anybody take nothing from me without it being some consequences and repercussions. And when I had a kid, like she felt this different type of power where she could just take my days and take this, and it was like I couldn't understand it, but it was so trippy to the point where I didn't want to be involved because I was being abused. It's like somebody abusing, they slapping me, and I can't fight back because if I fight back, my daughter crying and she's sad while you fighting with mommy. So like daddy always the bad guy. So it's a rough situation to stay in. But I do want to touch on something that she said in regards to the being an incubator, having an automatic connection. A lot of times that is true, but I don't want women to because there's a lot of women also that don't like. My child mother went through that. She didn't have the automatic connection, and she got depressed, and she went through a lot behind that. So I almost want to say that sometimes it's not about who gave birth, but who put in the work. I think you still do have to work for it, even though you're the incubator and you're the woman. You still do have to work for that connection because a lot of women don't have that instant connection. They automatically feel like something's wrong with them. I had the connection because from the time my daughter was like an infant, I fought for every second, like every doctor's appointment. Like if you fed her on Thursday night, I'm feeding her Friday night. So every experience, those hard times, those sleepless nights, I got all of those, and that's what brought about the connection. So that
was due to your effort, though, and I think it's rare for women not to have a connection because that's what we were designed. We were designed to have that nurturing spirit. But I think your effort that you put in, you were committed from the jump, from the conception of that child all the way through. Like you said, you read up, you went to the appointments. You put in all that extra effort that men typically don't do. Like men are typically okay if they skip that. They may not skip the major ones like sonogram and stuff like that, but typically like the ones where they just gonna measure your stomach. Yeah, I missed out on that.
Yes, I ain't missed none of those.
Want all of them.
But V, did you have that automatic connection? Because I know a lot of women that say they don't have that. See, that's what I'm saying.
I didn't with Jayla. No, my mother would tell you guys. For one, I went through a whole lot in my in my pregnancy.
Sorry for the noise in the background. That's my.
I know. Oh, you're fine. No, I did not, because for one, I got pregnant with Jayla during bike weekend. I got pregnant during bike weekend.
That bike weekend, boy. Woo!
And that
Myrtle
bike
Beach.
weekend.
I remember them days. I remember them bike days.
And see, Jayla father and I, we was off and on for 10 years. So that one night that I came back from bike week, I'm fresh off of bike weekend. Fresh. Went to the club that night and I was drunk. I couldn't drive back to Raleigh. I was like, okay, I'm not driving back to Raleigh. So I hit him up and he just experienced a death in his family. Long story short, I supposed to got my behind up that next month morning, Memorial Day weekend. I don't look at Memorial Day weekend the same no more. It ain't no celebration for me. Okay? Because I conceived on Memorial Day weekend. That Monday morning, Memorial Day. And so I didn't know I was pregnant till about 2.5 months going into 3. I didn't know I was. I
was
didn't
the
know I
same.
was.
I was the same. 3 months.
And everybody, and you know, for one, I
Like
didn't
no time of the month or nothing. Like you didn't like time of the month was
my
still coming.
periods was still coming. I still had periods. I still had. I didn't have no problem with eating. I didn't have morning sickness.
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't
a stork dropped your baby off in your belly. A stork came through, just dropped it.
But let me ask you something. The reason why you had no connection is because of who you had the baby from. Could that be it?
You know what? I didn't think about it. Yeah, because I think now that you say that, because when I found out I was pregnant, I called his mother, told his mother that I was pregnant. He was like, it's impossible because I haven't slept with V in just that one night. That one night. That's what
So
he
it's
said.
possible then.
He said, it got to be somebody else's child because I haven't slept with Victoria. And this is so true. Me and him we stopped talking. And we had talking like 2-3 years. But I knew I had that level of access to him where if I was in the area, all I had to do was hit him up, do what I do. And I was, hey, that's what I did. And so, knowing that he was in his children's life, at the particular time, his son's life, but that was only because of his mother. His mother was the person who kept him, went to go pick up the kid. It was his mother that did all the connection for him. But as far as him being a father to his child, no. But was I his pride and joy? Yes. But a child to come into our lives, he ain't want no kid. He didn't want another kid because on top of that, he already had a son and he had 2. He just had a baby girl. And then, but he
So
was
you think it was the situation?
To be born, huh?
You think it was the situation that caused you not?
Right.
You think the situation caused you not to have a connection?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I knew who he was. It was like I knew who he was, so I did not have a connection with that. Like even I couldn't even embrace the pregnancy with Jayla because I went through so much. My breast wise, I was going through health issues. I told my pastor, and my pastor was like, at the particular time, he says, "No need of you feeling shame, but that's what happens."
Yeah, that's the story I've heard a lot about women going through like physical changes to the point where they don't have a connection because they're upset about what's happening to them, so they're not able to embrace what's going on inside of them. So that's why I was saying like I just don't want women who are listening to walk away feeling like, oh man, I didn't have an automatic connection and feel bad about themselves.
No, I didn't start connecting with Jayla until my mother, and this is real talk, till my mother said to me that day in the hospital, it was the second day. She said, "Girl, you better hold this baby." And exactly what she told me. She said, "Put this baby up and you go." I said, "Mama, I don't want to." Because the day that I had Jayla, the day that I had her, hold on. The day that I had Jayla, her father was in the room with me. And I insisted for her father to be in the delivery room because I had to have a C-section because Jayla was breech. And the doctor said only one person could be in there. Only one family member could be in the room with me. And my mama said, "Well, I'll come." I said, "No, Mama. You know, this is his daughter. So out of respect, I'm thinking hey, come share this moment. He gets in there. They cut Jayla out of me. He see her. He looking at her. He said, she white. Now we in the room. Immediately, I was hot. Light skinned as I am, I was red. He was like, she white. And I looked. And then his mother called and said, and he watching this live. I see him up here. But his mother called and his mom said, oh, praise God. You know, she happy that her grandma. And then he said, well, she look white. I don't know if she mine. I looked over and I said, Mama, get him out of here. Send him to the house. Get him out like now. At that point, I was angry because I'm like, I just had a baby. Why use that point right then and there to mention that? So right then and there, even though I just had Jayla, I wasn't trying to have no connection with Jayla because he done killed my mood, one. Mm-hmm. Two, like Daddy said, I didn't have no connection with Jayla while I was carrying her.
But the question I wanted to know was like, I thought I heard you. I'm not sure if I heard you correctly. Did you say like you didn't hold her at all when you had her?
My second day.
Oh wow!
I didn't hold Jayla the second.
Even when they cut her out, like you like nothing.
No, they brought her over to me, and I looked at her, and I was like, okay, because when Jayla came out, for one, her head was looking around. Her head was like straight.
Wow.
She was looking around, and then the doctor suctioned her mouth out for her to cry, because she wouldn't cry, and so she just was looking around, and they was like, wow, she's stubborn. Jayla, she came out butt first. So, you know, again, I didn't have that connection with Jayla. My mother, she gave Jayla her first bath. When we left the hospital, like Jayla went into NICU. And when Jayla went into NICU on the second day, and my mom was like, you need to bond with this baby. Jayla was in NICU, and I'm telling you, that's when I started to bond with her because they was like, she may not get a chance to go home. For one, she was dealing with the sickle cell, and she was dealing with jaundice. So it was a possibility that she was not going to come home. They had to run plenty of tests on Jayla. So when I started realizing, like, is she going to be okay? Then I started to have compassion. Then I started feeling like a mother because I had to show a sign of care. So when I realized then, like, okay, it's a possibility Jayla is not going to come home with us in 3 days, because normally after 3 days, they send you home. And so I didn't get that opportunity. So we ended up coming home with Jayla like the second week, and we stayed at the Ronald McDonald House. They gave us a place to stay so I could stay connected with her. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm not going to leave this hospital without my baby. I don't care what's going on. Her father didn't come till 3 days later, even after he left.
Again, that goes back to that counting up the costs, right? You got these moments that you experience and stuff, but you're not counting up the costs. And so now this man is thrown into this. Now you have this baby that was just really off of, I mean, they knew each other for a long time, but really off of a one night stand. Because if you would have been in your right mind, not drunk, not in alcoholic, that wouldn't have been the decision that was made, probably, right?
Right.
You've been a little more careful. But again, like I said before, it's doing things out of order. The consequences of doing things out of order.
Exactly. And I had to understand that. And I wasn't, and at that point, Jayla, after I brought her home, my mama had my baby clothes from when I was born, and she came home in my baby clothes. And, you know, I was able to embrace that. She was a yellow, white looking baby. She looked Chinese, because he was like, she looked Chinese, you know, her eyes and stuff. But she started to come into her own. And what my mama did, she saw Jayla ears. She said, oh, that baby gonna be black. Lord, that baby gonna be black. Please, Lord, don't let that baby be black. That baby gonna be Choco. And I was looking at my mom. I said, you're not helping. You're not helping. So Jayla bonded with my mom instantly. And then my mom was like, listen, I can't be here with you for 2 more weeks. I gotta go back to work. And that's when I had to begin to bond with my daughter, to have that connection. And so once I started having that connection with her the second week, I was fine. I didn't go through postpartum. Like I said, I think I went through postpartum early on, but you know, some women go through it for a long time. I didn't go through like that. So,
and you know, my daughter's father, again, talking about generational habits, right? So my daughter's grandfather, who her father's father, he left his mother. They divorced. He went on, remarried, and his father, being in the military, went over to Germany and pretty much was estranged from his kids, right? Which is my daughter's father. When I came into the Army, or when I went into the Army, because I'm no longer in the Army anymore, but he ended up being my post command sergeant major of the post that I was on. So I ended up connecting with him, and he didn't even know about my daughter. But long story short, my daughter's father recently, within the last year and a half, reached back out to her through the grandfather's other child, which is his half sibling. And so he ended up contacting Kayla. My point in saying that is there comes a time in a man's life where he actually goes back and do the inventory of everything that he's gone through, right? My father's father did the same thing when it came to John, his son. And now Kayla's father is at the stage in his life where it's like, I have a whole child out there that I know nothing about. And you have to come to terms with that at some point. You are not going to escape this life without going back over and saying, what in the world? And trying to do something to reconcile that. And what happens with the child is, especially with in the case of my daughter, because she was raised to be a strong Black woman. So guess what? Now you're coming to the red carpet and you think it's going to be easy. She reads him. You know, but you have to face that. She does it in a respectful way because I always told her you have to honor your father. We don't know what he did. You pray for his heart. But at the end of the day, first of all, God wastes nothing. He wastes nothing that you go through in this life. Everything works out for your good. Good, bad, and different. He uses everything. And so I try to tell her, your father was broken. So he can't give you something he doesn't have the capacity to give. He didn't have the capacity to give that. So I try to teach her that. So again, it comes back to, yes, we're going to go through these things, but what is our reaction going to be? What are we going to do to reconcile that so that when my daughter now goes to look for her mate, she doesn't repeat the same mistakes that I repeated. That is what's critical here. And if I can get anybody to know anything, it's going to be that. It's easy to be mad at the man. It's easy to be like, oh, he's a deadbeat father. He sucks. But you got to, one thing I never did with my daughter is I never spoke bad of her dad. Never. She never heard me say an ill thing about her father because I knew at some point you're going to see for yourself. I don't need to. Now, what I did do for her,
that's exactly what I did.
What I did do for her, what I did do along the way is I sent him every school picture because I knew his address. I made sure I did delivery receipts. I made sure every letter I had, when I reached out to him on Facebook, email, I copied it all because she was going to see that it was not on me. Because, you know, now when she speaks to him, he can easily say, well, your mama, your mama, your mama, you know? So when she went to face him, it was you had to really tell why you were not in this child life. And it was not going to be your mother stopped me. I didn't have your phone number. I didn't know you moved. It couldn't be any of those things. Which he tried one of them and she was like, no, because I have a letter here where she gave you my cell phone number when I got my first cell phone at 13 years old.
And I'm going to let Dr. Talbot take it home for us, but I do want to say all those little appointments that I made, those the doctor's appointments, all the other stuff that people feel like don't matter. For a man, it really does matter because, like I said, you're not carrying it for 9 months. So a man has to be accountable for something consistently, or we're going to put it down.
That's
so,
good.
For me,
that's good.
For me, the only way for me to stay engaged, even the reason why I moved to North Carolina from Atlanta is because I would get my daughter for 2 months and then her mother would have her for 3 or 4. And I can feel myself slipping. I can feel myself finding myself comfortable in a space where she's over there. I'm just going to do what I'm doing over here.
That's
so
really
I moved myself to North Carolina where I was accountable every other week. So the connection wasn't lost. So as men, we have to put ourselves in a space where we're accountable all the time, or we'll be accountable no times.
And that's where the provider kicks in too. Like even when you get one of the things, he ended up remarrying, right? So even when you get another, because you know, in my mind I was like, how does this woman be with this man and she know he got a whole child out there, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking to myself, like, what is even the process of that? Because even when you get a new woman in your life, you have to set that order. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't allow this woman to dictate how you're going to be a parent in your child's life. That is important. And even when I dated one of my exes I made sure, no, we're not dating this weekend. You need to go spend the weekend with your children.
Correct.
That's important.
Because
so when it comes to choosing a mate, when you have children and you're going to choose your mate, you got to make sure that mate is on point and everything is in order. And she knows this is a non-negotiable for me.
and that was the thing with my daughter's father. Even in dating him and when we was trying to work things out, I made it very clear. Okay, are you getting your kids this weekend? What are you planning on doing? Because we need to make sure we have enough food. And he was like, nah, I ain't even trying to talk to her. No, you need to figure out a way to keep your kids' lives, because at the end of the day, all they're going to be able to go off of is you wasn't there.
That's all they know.
That's all they know. You wasn't there. They don't care about how much money you give them. They don't care about no gifts. All they care about is you was not there.
They don't care about that other man.
And you're saying I'm working, and you try to throw out there, oh, I did this. Did your mother tell you that $100, that $1,000 out there? No. The mama ain't gonna be talking about that. All that child cares about is you being present in that child's life.
You want at my basketball game, you want at my soccer game, you want at my recital, you want at
none of that.
Even though it's a child, even as an adult, even though I'm grown, I talked to my biological father today. And my biological father, I told him, I said, being that I don't care that you are in the situation that you're in, but you're talking to me, you're present. This is what I'm going to be able to hold on. Even though you was not there for me in my younger years, even though you gave me money, even though you took me shopping, but what's present is the fact that we're having this conversation right now. That's what I care about. It may not be a conversation every single day, but the fact that I can talk to him and I can talk with him in a way where it's mature, we're able to laugh, we're able to cut up even the circumstances. I still respect my father. And one thing my spiritual father did, and I really didn't get to go into detail with him today about it, was he pushed me to the place where, listen, daughter, I know I'm your spiritual dad, but you still got to have a level of respect of your biological father, because at the end of the day, when this man died, you don't want him to die, and then you have this guilt inside you where you could have opened up and you could have did more. And so those of you who are watching us and listening to it, my father is in a situation, not to put his business out there, but he's in a situation where I'm praying that God, put him in a place of release. But I'm like, God, I thank you because I'm able to have this conversation with him, where years ago he would be like, why are you calling me? I don't feel like talking. I don't want to do this. And so now my dad is in his 50s. It's like, I want to have a relationship with my daughter, and I understand him. So being that I understand him, I respect his space. I used to be like, Dad, why you don't call me? I want to have a relationship with you. But God blessed me with a spiritual dad who y'all see up here, who's my daddy, who I call, that's my daddy. I call him every week. I talk to him. Even though sometimes daddy say stuff that make me mad, I will never put myself in a position and say, oh, no, you wrong, and hang up in his face or anything like that. So God blessed me. Even though my biological father was not present, God gave me someone who is present, who wants to be present. And that's the type of God that we do serve. So when you have a father in your life, and just like with you, Tia, You made sure your daughter knew, listen, I did do my part, but it's not your responsibility because he didn't continue on his part. College, the same thing that you did as your daughter, you being consistent in your daughter's life. Women hit me up all the time. Was like, where in the world has what your college, I'm seeing you're reading your comment too, college.
Yeah.
Listen, I do understand it, but I just want to let you know, like, your daughter, she's anxious about watching a movie. This is what she wants to do, and this is your time, So again, you as a father still got to give that time, because all she remembers and knows is we supposed to be watching a movie.
That's how kids spell love.
And they don't care. Kids don't care. They do not care. I want y'all to understand, kids do not care about what you doing right now. Like my godson, Bentley. He don't care that I'm up here. He do not care. All he want is
Bentley got the green light anyway. He do it.
Come on.
So I just want to point those things out, because Daddy, you really taught me and really said to me, listen, daughter, I know what it's like, and this leaves my last point of topic, and we're closing this out. Well, why men are locked up, continue cycles going back to prison.
Sure.
Continue. Men who are locked up continue these cycles, and the cycles of going back to prison. Why do they make those decisions when going back decision, knowing what they're gonna miss out on?
A lot of that is systematic.
I'm 63, 35, 35. So I can answer that. I've been to prison. That's 63, 35, 35.
Systematic though.
That's well, actually, I won't go with,
Come on,
I'm going to debunk that the systematic thing, because like I said, I'm 63, 35, 35. I wasn't raised in the streets. I was raised up in the church. I didn't start. But first time I got in trouble was after I came out the military to become a police officer at the age of 21, when I ran into racism. So I got locked up. And one thing I look at that is, it's a choice. That prison is a choice. Trust me, I'm telling you it is. I got the habitual offender on my second arrest. So I got a legal sentence. So I know how the system, nobody can tell me. I felt the whip of injustice. I carried the whip of injustice on my back. Trust me, I do, because my first time ever my first arrest, they came with 5 years minimum mandatory. I just got in the military, never been in no trouble. Had to end up going to trial to get 2 years house arrest, and came back a year later with another sales, and ended up with the habitual offender. Had to go to trial to get that. He was trying to give me 20 to get the 10. So I did 6 years, 5 months. But while I was in there, there's two types of people inside prison. It's people who make use of the time, and it's people who will play around with the time. While I was in there, I began to study, do everything to educate. I wrote my first book in prison. Why am I in prison? The name of the book, because that's when I got in there. I had to understand, why was I here? It wasn't so much of the physical of selling drugs. There was a spiritual reason, because a lot of my partners got killed. So I could have got killed. So why is it that God put me in prison? So I educated myself. I took full responsibility of making sure that when I got out, I wouldn't come back. I understood that, hey, that 85% of the people come back. I said, okay, if 85% come back, that leaves 15% who make it. I said, I'm gonna make sure that I make it. When I got out, soon as I get out, here comes child support. I'm making $7 an hour. Child support is like $800. You do the math. It's not adding up. So I took on a second job, right? There's many days, people don't even know this right here. There's many days I walk down the road crying like a baby, because I wanted to sell drugs. I was broke. I had no money. But I remembered something that I said to myself in prison. I'd rather be butt naked, living up under a bridge, than to go back behind that fence. I say my worst day out here will be better than my best day inside prison. I went to truck driving school, paid $5,000. 50 companies denied me. 50. Sales of cocaine, no. Sales of cocaine, no. Sales of cocaine, no. Sales of cocaine, no. But I kept trusting God. I kept looking. I got a job driving for a car company. Didn't even want that job. I put my hand in God's hand. No matter what came at me, I stayed the course. My birthday, which is February the 20th, I got out on my birthday, February 20th, 1999. I've been out 22 years. So so people say, well, no, it's not the system. It's going to be a choice. I had the choice to sell drugs. When I got out, many times I knew people who could bring me the drugs, but I had made up in my mind that I was going to be a part of the 15%. And I went back in the same prison and preached to my homeboys I played basketball with on the court and everything. So I believe a lot of times, even though the system may be stacked up against you. When I was in there, I worked at the Pride Lab. 10 cents. They paid us 10 cents. 10 cents an hour. If you could be in prison working for 10 cents an hour, then what is you complaining about working at Burger King when they're paying you 7 cents an hour? If you can get a lawnmower, or you could be out there side the highway picking up trash for free for 8 hours, how is it that you can't get out here and work in no restaurant for a little bit of money? So it's a choice. I don't go with the system. It's a choice because I've been in that same system and I overcame that system. Why would you go back? My daughter said something important. I know the system is rigged. Why would I make a decision to put myself back in front of a man who got power to control my future? When my kids used to come in there and see me, I never forget this. My mom used to bring them all the time. There's time that in the prison there's a gate there. And I should go to that gate and I should see them running across the thing. They'll see me, my children, my nephew. Hey, Uncle D, bye, Uncle D. And everybody, Dad, my children, Daddy, we love you. We love you. I would sit to that gate and cry. I would cry. I got out. I said I would never put my kids in that situation again, because a man said something in prison. He said, who love their kids? I said, I do. He said, no, you don't. I said, man, don't you tell me I don't love my kids. I put my kids to bed at night. I kiss them. I buy them everything. I'm with them. He said, if you love your kids, you wouldn't be in prison. And I'm like, my God, that's deep. You know what I'm saying? So I've been out 22 years. It's a choice. It's a choice. And if you make those decisions, you can make it, even though the system is rigged, like you say. But hey, it was rigged. It's still rigged against me. I'm still a black man. I still got a record. There's still some jobs I can't get. I don't care if I'm Dr. Darrell Talbot with a doctor's degree. It's still, I'm 63, 35. The police pulled me. They don't care nothing about you being Dr. Darrell Talbot. You're a chaplain and all that. They run my plate. I'm 63, 35. I'm an ex-convict at the end of the day. But guess what? I'm a free convict, because freedom is for responsible living. When you stop being responsible, you lose your freedom.
I have to respectfully, I do agree with some of what you said. It is a choice, but I have to respectfully disagree on the system piece, because depending on the area, the system is stacked against. I know this firsthand. I know it personally. As she said in my bio, I'm a huge civil rights activist. Everybody around here knows Tia. I'm really big on justice, social injustice, and all of that. I have seen the system work against people who have been trying their best to do right. They get profiled, they get followed, they get. If you're in a small town, everybody knows you. Everybody will deny you a job. Like, I've seen it work. Look at the Central. Let's go with something even more popular. Look at the Central Part 5 guys. The only reason why they're doing well right now is they were paid. But prior to them being paid, they could not hold down anything. One of them almost committed suicide. Like, the system was literally stacked against them. Like, people, first of all, they were already in the news, so people knew about them. So people didn't want to touch them. Like, the system is stacked against black men. That is a real thing. There's a reason why it is talked about. It's a reason why people are fighting so hard for it, because it is a real thing. My maid, I shouldn't call her maid. She's the person that cleans my house. Her son literally just got killed by Virginia State troopers last Saturday. So we've been out on the streets trying to get them to release this dash cam footage. This system was stacked against him. The only reason why he's doing well is because his mother has a cleaning business and she won a contract and she put him on it. Again, if you don't have those scenarios set up for you so that you can enter in something that is going to be productive, a lot of times, depending on your age, God's grace, of course, plays a hand. But again, we have to remember, not everybody's in Christ. So when you have people who all hope is lost and they're out here trying to figure it out, because again, we've already discussed how your past work against you, how your mentality is, how you don't have role models in your life, how you're trying to figure it out on your own. A lot of times people are in scenarios where if someone does not guide them, if someone is not in position to be able to steer them right, again, like you said before, we're talking about generation. Yes, it was easy to go into Burger King and get a job. Now you got to darn near have a college degree to even get a Burger King job. Like, the system literally has shifted. We have evolved from, you can just go, my brother, he was a felon. They actually have a site now where felons can go and look for a job. You could type it in, I think it's jobs for felons or something. And I only know this because, again, I'm in here trying to help change what the system does. But Rayshard Brooks, the one that was killed in Atlanta, if you go back and look up a video that he did about rehabilitation and how Black people are treated in the system versus how white people are treated in the system. So again, I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but I do think a great deal of the reason why men cycle through the system is because they are set up for failure when they get out of the system. And then they try to, like you said, you had one kid, you had child support coming against you. Some of them have 3-4 kids that got child support. And guess what? They wait on them to come out of prison. They see the child support. Their license gets suspended. Then they end up going back to prison because now they owe child support. Like, the system literally does stack up against some of these Black men unfairly. It's a disparity.
It stacks up against all Black men. Once again, my first arrest. Listen to my first arrest. See, I didn't know what nobody told me. I lived the system. I felt this. I got this whip on my back. My first arrest ever. Just got the military. The plea bargain. Normally, if I was white, I got probation. 3 cells of cocaine. My first arrest was 5 years in prison, minimum mandatory. No previous record. So I know about the system. My second arrest, $20 worth of cocaine. Okay, 20 years. I got 20 years as a habitual for people who get in and out. You know, my movement is united for my hood. I went War Cry for Peace. We go out there to gun violence in the hood to bring notice to gun violence. So I'm out there. I'm a civil rights activist too. You know, go out to gun violence. Matter of fact, I almost got killed. My birthday, we having a big outreach out there because a guy tried to kill me and killed my cousin. So we having a big thing. So I know about the system. I know about the injustice. I was a pawn in that because I know about the system. That's why when I got out, I'm in the same predicament as any other person. I'm a felony who's inside prison, who come out there. The only difference is I got the same thing was stacked against me. So I don't make excuses for other convicts who don't make it because I've been in y'all same shoes. I had an opportunity. Like I said, I walked down that road selling, crying all the time. I got out of prison. I got a doctor's degree since I've been out. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get that in there. I did everything. I had my own trucking business. I broke my trucking business in 4 years, had my own trucking business. So I don't cater. It's the same system. Has the system changed? No, if I get arrested, that same system is going to do me wrong again. And I know this, and that's why I make decisions to make sure I don't put myself in front of that system, because the system ain't changed, and it ain't gonna change because the system was designed as soon as slavery was over. Prison was even doing slavery time. Prison got created after slavery. Prison is slavery. That's why they got the chain gang. It is slave. It's cattle. That's why you 63, 35, 35. That is a cattle. That is a brand. You are property of the state. If you study history, then you'll know that soon as slavery was over, They didn't have nobody to work the plantations. They came up all these petty charges to arrest black people. Now they got them in prison. Then they leased them back out. It's called leasing. They leased them back out to the plantation. Guess what? You see the people on the chain gang, they're being leased out again. The state pays for them to clean the property. The state pays for them to cut the yards in the city. So it's still the same leasing cycle, and that's why they give you a number. Your property on DLC. So it's still the same.
I think
prisons are privatized now. They're not ran by the most.
Not all of them. Not all of them. Some of them privatized. Not all of them.
But again, you had a will that other people. You had a will to do that, but some people they need mentors. That's my point.
But it's a choice, though.
So what I'm saying,
I'm never by being a person in that system. If I was never in that hole and clammed out, then I may say that, but since I was in that hole and clammed out and been out 22 years and I had a potential, only thing I can do is make a bad choice. So I'm not going to give them that free pass that you want to give them because the system is still stacked against me.
Hold on 1 second. Can I get in here for 1 second?
Pass, I don't now say, oh, well, I'm not going to have no compassion because I've already went through.
No, I said the free pass. I'm not going to make an excuse as to why it can't be done because I'm not going to make an excuse to why it can't be done.
So I think the disconnect between what y'all are saying is that because I don't think what she's saying is an excuse. I think it's more of an explanation. But I think the disconnect is taking place because what he's saying is it's the mind state that puts us in these positions where we can be extorted and preyed upon when we already know the vulture is out there. So I'm saying, like, so the music that we listen to, the energy that we carry to these situations, the way the places that we put ourselves in can get us. Like I remember being outside of a gas station in a box Chevy with my homeboy with three pounds of weed in the car, waiting for somebody to come by. Like we had no reason to be in that situation, so we could find ourselves in the system to be taken advantage of. But I do think it's systemic. I think it's a whole plot in order to lock as many of us up as possible. And you do need good decision making, but you do also need some luck too. Because had it not been a small little loophole, we would have went down for those 3 pounds. So I've wiggled through the cracks of poverty and prison a multitude of times. Sometimes you need some good fortune. You got to have some good decision makers. Because there's people that made the right decisions and still ended up in jail. So I think you
have a woman who ended up in prison serving almost 20 years just because she used a different zip code so her child can go to a great school. That's what I mean by the system sometimes.
I think both of y'all
talking about recidivism, though. She's talking about recidivism of people coming back and back. She ain't talking about a one-time situation where you get messed up. She's talking about people come back and back.
What I'm saying is that has put a felony tag on this woman's head. So when she does come back out,
so once you're branded, you end up going back in. Y'all are having kind of two different conversations.
I'm branded too. I'm a felon. I'm branded. You know what I'm saying? Y'all lose the fight. People lose the fight because I got the title of Dr. Derek Talbot. In the system, I'm still 63, 35, 35. That's a number that I would never forget. You know why? I said it 3 times every day. Every day for the 6 years, 5 months, I said it 3 times every day. Count time, 63, 35, 30, Talbot, 63, 35, 35, 30. So there's a brand in my mind of that number. Now, back to my sister. It's not that every black man is in that situation. Yeah, the system is stacked against everybody. I agree with that, but we got to make better decisions. We got to re-educate the people that's inside the prison system. That's one reason why I go back in the prison system to try to tell my brother, look, y'all don't have to come back here. I played basketball with y'all. Y'all know me. Hey, I've been out this amount of years. Motivate them. Hey, we can make it. You ain't got to be a part of the 85% that go back. You can be a part of the 15% that stay out. Now, granted, everybody ain't gonna get saved, and everybody is not gonna stay out the system because at the end of the day, salvation is based on the choice. And a lot of times, it's a choice. When you look at, I've been in prison with a lot of people, like they used to tell us, very few people that's in prison are innocent. And sometimes you got a way with stuff you should have been caught. Like Carla said, he got away with stuff that he should have been caught. So
I
very few
definitely got
people.
away with my stuff.
Yeah,
And
very few people.
And Dad, and this is and what you and T are making great points. Like with me, I can say I've never had a record, but I cannot say that I've never been caught with drugs.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I've never had a record, but I can honestly say that I have never.
You gotta have some good fortune every now and again. It gotta be some good fortune.
And the reason why I say this is because I had a choice coming back from Florida, Miami, Florida. I had 22 at that particular time kilos in the vehicle, and the state trooper pulled me over.
22.
It was nothing but the grace of God. He said, I know that tail light was not out by the time I left Miami Boulevard. I know this for a fact. But by the time I got on that highway, and I was about almost near past, I was almost near what? Tampa. I was coming through Tampa. I mean, I'm cruising. I'm cruise charting everything. That night, I got up to about Jacksonville. Before I could even cross over into Georgia, I thought I was going to jail for the rest of my life. And my ex-fiance at that time told me, he said, if you get pulled over, you better not tell them people that you told me you going down on your own. I send you money on your books, but you better not drop my name. That's exactly what he told me. It was by the grace of God. The grace of God that I survived that situation, because when that man came and state trooper came on the side of that vehicle, he asked me, he said, where you coming from? I got North Carolina plates.
Yeah, like I said, y'all both are making valid points. Like making better decisions ain't gonna save you all in itself. And but at the same time, we do have to make better decisions as a whole, because we know the threat is out there. You know what I'm saying? You know the deck is stacked up against you. So there's no need to be riding down the road with 10 pounds of marijuana with the system booming and blasting and your do-rag on. Like, there's no need to be doing excessive stuff neither.
And Collins, this is what I'm saying to you. When I did what I did, I said, Lord, I'm going to jail. But when the man asked me, he said, where are you coming from? I told him I was coming from Miami, which was true. I just filled up. I told him, I said, I just filled up out of Tampa. I'm coming into Jacksonville. So I done filled up. Now it's about time for me to stop again. One of my point I'm making to you is I was dealing at this time, not realizing the stakes that was stacked up against me. This state trooper, this is God is my witness. This state trooper searched the vehicle. He searched it. He looked inside. He searched it. And the way they had positioned this stuff in this car was in the tire, in the spare tire rim underneath, where it was a whole different compartment. But my point I'm making to you guys is, I knew I was going to jail. I knew it. Without a shout it out. Because he asked me to stand up against I guess the thing with Florida, even if they pull you over, they do ask you to step out the car and put you on the side. So I was scared for my life. And I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew for a fact I was going to go to jail because of my choice. That's the point I'm making. I knew I was going, but I did not go. And that's why I said I don't have a record. I was dealing drugs, but I don't have a record. And it's a lot of people who deal with drugs who don't have no record. But again, they look for ways and options to try to make it through. But at the end of the day, it comes back, like Wanda said, choice to take a chance, to make a change. And what I did was I took a chance. But I had him in that moment when that state trooper was talking to me, a change took on me right in there. And as soon as I got back, I said, give me my money. I was gone. You can have it. I don't care what you do. I'm done with it. And our relationship was done because he was going to let me go to jail. I was under the impression of this not mine. This is who it is, and I'm gonna go home. It wasn't like that.
And like you said, it was a chance that you take. And that's my point is that depending on the situation, it was only because, like he said, like Colin said, luck. You better hope luck is on your side, because some people end up in these situations for little minor innocent things that was just an 18-year-old making a bad decision, but they don't get that same consideration if they would have been white kids. They could have been. These teenagers don't even have a chance to have teenage mistakes and teenage young and dumb things before they ended up right up in the system, and their mentality may not be able to take that. Their mentality, look at the guy that Jay-Z was helping that went to Rikers Island just about his book bag, ended up hanging himself. Like he couldn't even take what was happening to him in prison. So now he has to come back out on the streets dealing with the fact that he got a record. And number two, he done suffered from PTSD. He done been beat up in prison, all at the age of 18 years old. So what does that do to a kid that you put back out on the street with a record at 18, PTSD, now he going through trauma, all of that? That's what I mean by the system stacks up against you. And hopefully you do have that will to break through. In his case, he committed suicide. He couldn't take it. But there are a lot of people who are like that. There you go, Khalif Broder. There are a lot of people who are like that come out, and the system has stacked so far up against them, they just don't have that will anymore. Now they just trying to really hold on to some glimmer of survival or hope, and hopefully stay running to somebody who will rehabilitate them, who will speak that life into them, who will take them under their wings. But everybody does not have that. And if you don't have that, that goes back to the original question. You end up going through that cycle over and over and over again.
So Tia, your whole stance in the community where you are being an activist is being a voice for those who have the system stacked up against them. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. For instance, there is a right now, the thing that we're doing right now is trying to put on the bill a law that says that Virginia state troopers have to automatically, in the case of a murder, release dash cam, body cam footage. Right now, there are one of only 14 states that do not require that. All the other states require that. That's one reason to help with this, because of the fact that now it becomes the mother's word against the state's word, and we know how that goes. So now we have to change somehow. So that's the change that we're doing. So yes, that is my role, is to try to really truly rehabilitate people and get rid of these low crimes that ends up carrying these heavy sentences, and the disparity that it is between whether you're white or whether you're a person of color. So yes, that is what we are doing right now. Right now it's full-fledged because we're trying to take advantage of the House and the Senate that we have right now, and the Black woman president.
Dad, what you got? What you got with everything that Tia just said as far as your movement and what you doing down there in Florida?
What we do is black on black crimes. I think that's where I'm at. You know, one thing, United for My Hood is a whole different coalitions coming together, but at the end of the day, it's the hood. And Warcraft Peace is for black on black crimes. What they do is people who've been impacted by black and it's just violent, gun violence, period. And it's happened that within the hood, of course, it's more gun violence on each other. So what we do is try to
question. Let me ask you a question. Why do they say black on black crime? Why do we allow that terminology to be out there?
Because that's a true terminology. What happens is this right here. A lot of people don't want to deal with the elephant in the room. And we talk about this right here. I got a personal issue with this, so I'm gonna try to be careful of how I trade with this, because as I stated before, my birthday, we having a big party inside my community, and I'm gonna preach from the same spot I stood when another black man came to try to kill me about some girl he thought I was messing with when I wasn't, and killed my cousin who was only 17 years old and had a 15-month-old daughter and a 4-month-old son. So that is personal with me. So it was a black man trying to kill another man. As a drug dealer, I have seen with my eyes and what people tell me, I've seen black people killed. Matter of fact, the first time I ever saw death was when I was in the military. I was in a little club in Seattle, and a guy snatched some dope and ran down the stairs, and the dude shot him in the head, and I went down and his eyes was open. So the first crime I ever saw was a murder, was a black man kill another black man. So as a drug dealer, I've seen it when nobody told me. I could go through my community. So Warcraft for Peace deals with, we can make it black on black. I don't care about how many white people kill white people. That's irrelevant on the west side. I want to talk about what's happening inside my hood. And we have a problem of dealing with what's happening now. Who want to shift the focus? No, we need to deal with what's happening in the hood. And one thing I teach over there is the reason why it's happening in the hood, because black people tolerate drug dealers. When I was a drug dealer, I was tolerated. Guess who do all the killing? Most is the drug dealers, the people who carry all the guns, but they tolerate it. Why? That's your son, that's your cousin, that's your brother, that's your sister, that's your auntie, that's your uncle. So these issues are serious issues. Mike Fight with Warcraft for Peace. We could put out a shirt to how many vigils I done went to, how many times I've spoken at these vigils to the people in the community about what's going on. I was a drug dealer. I know about it. Ain't what people told me. I saw people, and I done my shit. I done dropped shells out there in the community. So I know about the violence inside the community because I've been there and I've done that. So that's why we say black on black crime. If people want to label and change it, it all comes down to somebody of my same color who's killing me. And one thing that we want to teach is to value each other. If that's why it's called united for my hood. If we unite together, when you look at throughout the history, even the slaves was united. We need to unite together. And what you're doing is awesome. I applaud that. That is a area that's needed. One thing about this, people need to understand, everybody's working in a particular area. Just because I'm not in your area, then don't knock my area, because what your area, it has a valid point. I understand. I told you that system with them killing black people, man, that's so important. Getting them to give the right sentence to people, that's so important. But guess what? There's more problems than that. We got a problem with black people in the neighborhood killing each other. So that's why I want to deal with. So that's needed. So we all united for my hood is Martin Luther King and Malcolm X coming together, and we all working for one common purpose. What? The black man. Black Lives Matter. I might not agree with everything they do, but they got agenda and it's working. I ain't gonna talk bad about you. I might not agree with some of the substance, but if it's united, if it's making better for the black people, then I'm applaud you. Because if I begin to fight against your movement, then I'm defeating myself, because your movement is a help. If you say something about my movement, then we divide it, because it's happening. So everybody movement is needed. So one thing we want to do is bring awareness to, hey, we need to value each other. If I value you, I won't kill you. You know what I mean? They don't care that we kill each other. Trust me. They don't care that we kill each other, but we need to stop caring. Matter of fact, now people starting to die at 15. I went to Jacksonville, Florida. You know why? Last year they set a record, 161 murders. Ludicrous. 161 murders. That's the highest it's ever been. And guess what? It's black people killing black people. 161 murders. We don't even want to talk about Chicago, period. Everybody knows what's happening in Chicago. So we're killing each other. The only thing we're trying to do is bring value to each other. That you value, hopefully you won't kill. Come on, let's come together. Let's get our resources together. Yeah, the system is stacked against us. Let's come together, put our heads together, see how can we overcome. Let's be like I forget the city they burned down, you know what I'm saying, on Wall Street. Let's be like Black Wall Street. When black people came together, I researched Black Wall Street. They wasn't killing each other in Black Wall Street. I researched that specifically. I wanted to know, was they killing each other? I wanted to know that. I researched that. They wasn't killing each other in Black Wall Street. And guess what? It was so predominant. The black people was doing it. They was doing it so much to the white people got jealous of them. They had stuff the white people didn't have. Indoor plumbing, all of that stuff. Why? Because we looked out for each other, and we need to stop killing each other. Just like, and I tell you, I'm gonna end with this right here. If a state trooper kill my son, or another black guy in the community kill my son, it doesn't matter. My son is dead and he's not coming back. It doesn't matter who hand pulled that trigger. Now, the state trooper, I understand that. My point is, we need to understand death is death. That mother is grieving the same way. So we need to put a stop to both of them. We need to put a stop to the state trooper because he's causing pain to a mother. And we need to put a stop to the other people in the community who's causing the same pain to the same mother.
I don't think she was fighting against your movement. I just think she was trying to more like debunk trigger terms that present negative connotations.
Right. I knew why she was going black on black crimes, and that's why, because I didn't heard the terminology. Trust, I'm on Facebook. I'm in all these black coalition groups, and so you know I heard. So it's not the first time I've been introduced that. I'm in a lot of black coalition groups would deal with a lot of black terminology. So I didn't heard, you know, and one thing I had to say this is this, because if we, soon as I start talking about black on black crimes, and it happens all the time. Soon as I go to talking about it, somebody come and say, well, you know, white people murder each other at a higher rate. And I'm like, what that got to do with?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Because
what I'm talking about you know, so that's what I'm trying to do. My point is this: if we got a certain topic, like her topic, I would never discourage her topic. If I'm talking about who's killing each other, why can't we as people deal with that fight? All of us here can agree that that's a fight, that people are killing each other in the hood. Everybody can, you can't debunk, that's a true thing. And that's a problem. For to say it's not a problem, maybe, well, I can't say that because I'm not in everybody's city. So that's why I deal with my city. But it's a problem.
I think that like if you put any group of people, a bunch of poor people around a bunch of poor people, is going to be some crimes committed and people are going to get killed, whether they're black people or white people. So that's why that conversation takes on different branches, because they use it as a trigger term for black on black crime. But
yeah, what you're saying gets power. What we release out of our mouth has power. So, and they say it all the time against us.
Like it's no white on white crime.
It's more so them, how they say it to us, as if it doesn't exist.
Like a 75 white on white crime happens at like a 70% clip. But
yes, it's 71.
It is what you're saying is valid, because my best friend was killed by another black man. My oldest brother was killed by some black men. It happens all the time in our community, and black on black crime happens because we're stuck around each other and we're all struggling, we're all in poverty, and we don't have the same level of love that we once had for each other. Like kings and kill kings. You know what I'm saying? If you looked at me as your brother instead of a threat, then you wouldn't like want to harm me. But a lot of times, and I grew up in these neighborhoods where we in the hood, but it's nice houses, maybe like 2 blocks away. Now, we would want to fight you when you're in the hood. If you ran and crossed over to the nice blocks, we'd be like, we're going to get you when you come back. We won't even think about crossing over into that other neighborhood and committing any crimes or doing anything. Only in our own neighborhoods. We'll go out in the neighborhood and we'll want to do somebody harm, and we'll look past anybody that look like anybody that don't look like us, we look past them. But when we see somebody that look like us, he walk like me, he got his chest out like me, he moving around like he tough like me, that's the person I want to hurt, because I'm really trying to, it's a hurt I'm trying to do to myself.
And they know that. That's why the sentencing for killing a black man is not as harsh as if you go and kill a white man.
Yeah, it's a lot of
they know that. They're gonna put you right back out there to kill again.
It's a lot of self-hate that we got to deal with in our community that's going to stop us from killing each other and harming each other on a consistent basis. But the black on black crime, the white on white crime, the Asian on Asian crime, it all happens. We're just the only group that has so much self-hatred for each other when we didn't start off like that.
And that's prevalent in the fact that when those cultures, they come over here and they build their own grocery store, they build their own daycare, they keep everything. Cultural.
But they was They were taught that.
They were taught that.
Their race
you try to get black people to do a movement and to buy black and do all that, man, it may last for 2 days. After that, they right back in Gucci and Louis Vuitton.
Yeah, they was taught that. We haven't been taught that. And then also they come over here and they get money to go set up their own community. So like in Brooklyn, you got like little China, like Chinatown, and Jews got
everywhere.
That's
everywhere.
All the way to the point in Atlanta, like even the stuff is written in Japanese. So all the stores are like Japanese language and everything. So to your point, I do. To her point, I do understand how trigger terms like that can create a negative connotation and keep spreading to the point we think we're the only ones killing each other, and that's not true. And I never want that to be the message, like black people just killing black people, so we got to do something about black on black crime, because we ain't no more. We're way less barbaric than they are. And since the beginning of time, it's shown we're way less barbaric than they have been to the Pilgrims or to us. And that's their biggest fear, that we're going to do to them what they've done to us for revenge. And that's not even in our nature.
And what happens is it's in their minds. It's in the white people's minds, like you're barbaric. They keep saying black on black crime because they want to keep setting that profile and that image that we are the barbaric ones. We are the ones that are.
What Dr. Talbot is talking about and what he's doing is we got to get back to our true essence, where we will go in the midst of the wildest of us and let them know that I got compassion and love for you, my brother. Like this ain't how we supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and don't allow that terminology. And the one thing too, don't allow that terminology to overcloud the truth of the matter. Like when she asked me that, the reason why I say that is a lot of times they allow that terminology, black on black crimes, to take away from the truth of the matter. Yeah, we don't want to be labeled like, but at the end of the day, there's an elephant. Let's deal with the elephant. It is what it is. You know, numbers don't lie. If I go in Jacksonville and say, oh, you know, where's 161 people, like we did the march over there, it's 161 people who died. It's a problem. So, you know, we just try to bring value to each other. Like I say, my sister, I applaud you because I've been a victim of what you fighting against. Like I told you, my legal sentence, I wasn't no habitual offender. You know, I filed 15 appeals, you know, trying to get out of that, but the law withheld it. Wasn't no habitual. There's no way I'm a habitual offender. I never even been to prison. I can you habitual lie to somebody who never been to prison. But that was the legal loophole they put in there to keep us in there longer. And they give it to who they want to give it to. Trust me on that. So yes, so I applaud you because that's needed. And
what
Black Lives Matter.
You know, people they like how you go so hard for black people and both of your people close to you were murdered by black people. Like, I mean, that's anyone that knows me knows how hard I go for black people. My maid black, a lot of stuff is black in this household. We the first thing we look for is black.
I feel you.
My people.
Everybody know it doesn't matter to them.
I think you guys, I mean, y'all covered it. Yeah, I mean, y'all covered all the questions.
I was reading Wanda Haynes.
Okay.
Comment. So she said, "Yeah, to think we're barbaric, right?"
But
and
yeah,
I think that's I think that is another reason why there's so much shortage of men. They are in prison.
Facts.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I researched this today, right? I researched this today for the show.
Prison gay down low.
Right now in the United States, women outnumber men. 51.5. I researched this. So you already got women who outnumber men, 51.5, okay? Men die faster than women, according to what they say. You got that. Then you got the men who are incarcerated, and then you got the down low men. So y'all in trouble, women. You know, y'all in trouble. then the rest of them are married, and they don't want it. The others don't want to be married. So y'all.
No. Then you got the ones that don't want the black woman. They want the white woman.
I forgot about that category. My bad. I forgot about that category. So yeah. So y'all in trouble.
You had to go there about that, Lord. Right? That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. So
I appreciate y'all.
I thank you so
much.
I
appreciate you. And like I say, I thank you. Trust me, as an ex-convict, hey, I applaud you for what you do. It's so needed. Like I say, I carried that whip, them lashes on my back. So I felt that whip. So I applaud you for fighting.
I'm trying to do it before I leave this country because I'm going to live in another country for some time. I'm still searching, but it's happening. I just don't believe you were meant to live here.
I said I wanted to move to Canada when I had a job opportunity out in Canada. I was going to
Canada. Canada is amazing.
I was not going to stay in the United States no more. I was trying to go to Canada. I probably still end up going to Canada. But
see, Canada's smart. Canada don't let no felonies come over there unless you get a missionary waiver to get you over there. They ain't taking America crime people. You know what I'm saying?
I don't have a record.
I know that. I'm saying people like me, I can't flee to Canada. Well, I guess I can because I could get a pass on due to religious aspect. Yeah, the clergy aspect.
You'll be able to do it through clergy.
Anything they'll give you a visa. They'll give you a visa for a few years and monitor you for a minute.
Anything you guys have your takeaways tonight, anything y'all have to say as far as the conversation tonight? This is what we always do to you at the end. Everybody give their takeaways, and then pretty much we'll have Dr. T close us out. Any takeaways?
I don't have nothing. Not tonight. I think we had a great conversation. The one thing I do know, we address the men, let them know what men are dealing with and why men are making some of the decisions they're making. But
next week we
do got to take them to task a little bit stronger and a little bit heavier, because I don't want them to feel like they getting pounded on, but I don't want them to feel like they got excuses even. That's a hard thing to tightrope, excuses and explanations. At some point, explanations, when you have too many of them, they become excuses, and you got to kind of tightrope that. So next show we'll get back on that for sure.
Yeah, next week for sure. And then also we got a special guest. Tanya Griffin. Tanya Griffin, she's coming. I know Tia, after you look her up, you're gonna be like, girl, who is the what? So Tanya Griffin, she is the ex-girlfriend of the Pastor Jamal Bryant, and I had a great opportunity to talk to her today.
Wow.
We had a great conversation. I mean, she's a phenomenal woman.
I've been on some interviews with her. This is gonna be something.
Yeah, and this is gonna be a really good, just to angle the questions that I have asked her. And as far as with the conversation is not about Jamal Bryant, but it's pretty much to talk about what she does for Black women voices and what she does for her. I mean, she's a director at a college. So she has some other things that goes on. My narrative of the whole thing of this show is to let's deal with the conversations when it comes to relationship. I did ask those questions. I've asked questions that people did not ask. And I think it'll be good just from a different perspective. But I think it'll be good conversation, good convo for her to interact with you guys. Tia, if you want to jump on, ask some questions. That'll be good too. I should think if you have the schedule to do so, because I do know you are a busy woman, but it's always good to have a strong woman in the room and that can ask those difficult questions. And I tell people all the time, it's nothing against nobody that is a part of No Longer You or that follow me, but I've known Tia for quite some time now, and she's a stickler and sure in what she says. She has a lot of wisdom. Again, I would rather have someone on that really can combat and ask those challenging questions, as well as with Dad. Dad asked those questions and really target. I had a young guy today. He was coming for my daddy, and I was like, whoa. Wait a minute. You ain't going to be coming for my daddy like that. So, and with college, what you guys bring and the conversation, it's like we can wrap up everything in 1 3 hour, 2 hour, whatever, and we able to hit it on head, and somebody will come back. My email or inboxes will be packed. I'm telling y'all, tomorrow it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be packed. They're gonna be like, oh my goodness, Tia. Some people gonna be talking about Tia, So again, the conversation next week, we're dealing with the men still. We're still dealing with the men. We really didn't have to deal. The women, everybody's feedback with the women was good. They didn't even ask for another show for the women. Then tonight we need a part 2 for the men, because they feel like the men are the basically feel like the men are the weakest link, because the homes are divided, and
That's good.
and women need men. I don't care what y'all say. You need men.
They're
You
the
need
leaders. They lead.
They lead, men lead. So we follow. Women, we follow. And I had a woman that, she told me I was crazy to even think that we have our own stance. We got a vice president. That's the woman of the United States of America. But before she became the VP, she had to work her way up, just as many of us have to work our way up to a certain place. And so that's why I say, when Tanya comes, and she talked about, I had some questions for her, and it's gonna be good. And you guys be able to ask her questions and offer her, and she's offering her time. Again, I'm excited because I'm honored. I didn't expect to get this ready this level of feedback. Tia, you told me when everything was going down with me, you told me, you said, baby sis, hold on tight because you getting ready to take off. And I didn't know what you meant by what you said. I was just like, oh, Tia. And you kept telling me I had to talk. I got to come off of mute. This is the time to really talk, to bring it to real issues. We dealing with real issues, real people. And so I think it'll be great. And so, Daddy, you said the same thing, even though you already have told me a whole lot of stuff. We ain't going to talk about what you done said. So I just want to hear you guys' feedback, and I got a bunch of inboxes now that Tia, they love you. They loving this hair, honey. They say you are giving it to us.
It's my hairline. It's my hairline.
I had one said they trying to find out where you are in Virginia. They're in Fredericksburg. How far are you?
So yes, I'm in Virginia. I actually service everywhere from DC all the way down to Fredericksburg. So depending on makeup, hair, I have clients all the way throughout the DMV because I primarily got my start in Arlington. So my clients are kind of like all over the place. But yes, just hit me up. I'm Lala More Beauty on all platforms. That's my brand name. My hairline is Lala More Beauty Extension, but it's an X. And yeah. Just look me up, hit me up. I'll be bringing some new content here in the 2021 as far as like makeup tutorials, things like that, natural hair care, skincare. I'm huge on skincare. So yeah, check me out. I do want to say to the men out there, if I can have anything to leave you with is to, like I said, I'm an advocate for therapy. I say just heal yourself. Really seek healing. We all have we all are work undone. Like we can use to be healed. And the more you peel back those layers, then the more you really understand you, the more it's going to unlock so much potential and so many blessings in your life. Because I mean, personally, the more I healed, the more God had in store for me that totally blew my mind. So it's a scary process, but it's definitely a necessary process. So I would just say, whatever you think you know, you don't. Just go get that third party to really delve in and do the hard work. It's going to make you angry. You're going to go through so many emotions, but at the end of it, it's going to be so fulfilling for you. And it's just going to really blow your mind. Forget everything you heard about Black men not going to therapy. That is a trick of the enemy trying to keep you bound. So go out there and really learn who you are. And I say the same thing for women, like I always say.
Amen. The Quran says seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave, and that's important that we continue to evolve. That's my word, evolution. That has always got to be an evolution in everything, constantly evolving. Nobody has reached to any level where they can stop evolving. It's always marriage, relationships. It's constantly evolving, parenthood. Everything. Friendship. Everything is involved, and it's always Carlos. Hey man, awesome man. You bring great. Love you man. You bring.
No, Carlos is
nice. Carlos said, "Hey, Tia, you had great stuff." Hey. It was so funny because see, I know Carlos. Carlos sort of alpha male, right? So when Tia came, I know she kind of pro female. So I'm thinking, I said, boy, it's gonna be a good clashing tonight, boy. You know, they go clash. You know, I saw her come up a couple of times, you know, because I already knew when she came.
That's so funny you say that, but I'm really not pro female. I'm really pro male.
But you know what I'm saying? You're advocate. You're advocate for females.
We almost had to go to war about their cooking, didn't we?
Yeah. So I knew I was waiting because I know Collins and Wade from previous shows. I know how he think about certain topics. So when I heard her talk, I said, "Oh, this is gonna be good when Collins come in because boy, they're gonna clash because she's gonna promote the feminine women and in college, you know." So it was good.
You did good. You did good, Collins.
So it was good.
You better start taking that trash out.
You better take that trash out. So you did. It was awesome.
I'm gonna take that
trash to have you on here.
Bathroom to downstairs to the big
So the show was good. A lot of great content that came out, you know, and what you do is awesome. And a lot of times we need different views and stuff on different opinions, you know, like a lot of stuff I'm passionate about is my personal views and my personal opinion. That's why you have to stay, you know, evolution. A lot of times you could be saying the same thing, you know, but saying it from different angles, you know. I thank you, Collins, for coming in there and refereeing, you know, because me and her was, you know, because that's how we was coming with different opinions and stuff like that. But it was all true. Both people were saying something was true, you know, and I was speaking from opinion. But guess what? Everybody listening needed to hear everything that was said. You know, the system is stacked against you. You got to understand that it's against you, you know, as a black man. Then on the flip side, okay, don't put yourself in that position if you know the system is stacked. So it's all true. And then you got to have somebody to fight the system, what she's doing, because the system is not going to voluntarily change because they need money. They need the prisons full. So, you know, so it was a great show, great topic. Everybody who listened in was awesome. I applaud your daughter. Awesome show. That's all I can say.
I think next week, Daddy, you probably gonna have some questions for Tanya. You probably have some questions for Tanya.
I think I may sit back depending on what's said, you know, because she's in a good spot. She got a lot of knowledge, and you know, and then I got to understand what she's been through too. So a lot of time people speak from what they've been through. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
you know,
absolutely. So. Absolutely. I can't wait. I mean, we got some great stuff coming up, and I'm honored that she made herself readily available to come on to the show and talk with us all. I think it'll be good. What you got, College? You say you ain't had much. You just was good.
Yeah, I'm good for tonight. I'm ready to pretty much. I usually do like a processing of the show. After we're done, I take about 5-10 minutes to process everything in my own brain, you know what I'm saying, take it all in. And yeah, I'm just gonna be looking forward to the next show for the most part. I do think this dynamic that we just did tonight, where we had 2 men, 2 women, it was some good energy in that for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like it's definitely some good energy in that. So we can try to keep different combinations like that going if that's something so that might be something we want to look into.
Yeah, that's good.
I do want to address the men more, like I said. We're going to do it on the next episode because I get a lot of inboxes and a lot of women conversing with me. I have women call me that I don't really know like that. They call me and ask me about men because they don't have nobody to bounce this stuff off of. And you have when you're trying to date a man, you need to run the stuff that he's doing through another man's filter to let you know if that's some stand-up quality stuff that he's doing or if it's some nonsense, you know what I'm saying? Because as a woman, you know, like it's like, oh, that's just what he does. But as a man, it's like men don't do that. Something ain't right about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that dynamic, I get a lot of calls and inboxes about stuff like that. And I want to help women better streamline the process of finding a significant other, because I do think women fall for a lot of fluff. You know, they deal with a lot of, like I say, they do a lot of the dating and the going out and the eating and the trips, and they never get to the heart of the situation. That's who you're not gonna like. He's not gonna take you out every night. At some point, you got to be able to sit down with him on a consistent basis and deal with who he is as a person. Because when you out at the restaurant, there's distractions everywhere, right? Like I mean, you could talk about whatever's going on around you, but like in this pandemic, you in the house with your significant other all day. Can you deal with that? So next show, I definitely want us to be able to take that to task a little bit harder, and I'm looking forward to it. Once again, man, listen, I have a great, a deep love for both of you on this show, and I look forward to these Fridays.
Yeah, likewise, bro.
And once this pandemic clear up, I'm definitely have to sit down, chop it up, and have some good times together. I'll get us all in the same room.
And we had great convo. Like we had people in England tuning in tonight. In England and Australia.
Yeah, we get some good old workouts in because I'm a gym rat.
All right, let's make it happen, Captain.
I think it'll be good. I mean, I think it'll be good once we all be able to come together and do an actual live show. I think that'll be good and have people come and be able to talk with us and
open discussion.
And we keep them conversations going when you touch down on them barbershops. That was good today. Because that's the heart of where men's miseducation takes place at in barbershops, honestly. Like, wait Saturday morning, go to the barbershop and hear.
I'm telling y'all don't know. Y'all just have no idea. I was like, man, I wish Daddy was here. I wish Collis was here in this barbershop with me, and it would have been crazy. And I know it would have.
One dude was speaking some good truths though. The dude,
Sullivan.
The light-skinned kid, he was talking about not the guy that was trying to explain the womb stuff. He was reaching for the most part to me.
Oh, that was Sullivan.
Nah, the other guy that was sitting down in the chair with you that was saying like marriage is a business because y'all was having a breakdown in communication because what you're saying is from a spiritual perspective. Marriage isn't a business, but when you got to go down and get your marriage license, it has a number attached to it, and all those, and that's when it becomes a business because now it's man's law. You got to follow by the laws of the land. So it's both aspects of it taking place. Y'all just wasn't understanding each other.
Well, he ended up. My mama said that you done sent that man home with his tail wagging.
He ended up agreeing with you, you pretty woman. That's what that.
His mama said you done went to send that man home crying. I didn't. The Holy Ghost took over the conversation after the live ended, and it was like. I didn't know it was going to go that way, but he realized he still had some open wounds from his marriage. And I think with that and how God has shifted to where I could understand what he was saying at the end, I was like, so you really believe that marriage is a business? And he said, yeah. He said, because at the end of the day, regardless of how I may see it or how I may look, however you may look at it, it is one. Because if I don't do this as a husband, then either she gonna stay or she gonna leave. And I was just like,
and I worked in banking, and I like I said, I see the business side of it when your credit messed up and you got all this debt, and it becomes a lot. Like divorces are messy and expensive, so it is a business aspect of it. But y'all was just talking from two different perspectives, but those come.
Yeah, I'm like, marriage is kingdom. Did you not?
Yeah, that's the spiritual perspective because I don't necessarily need to go to the courthouse to be married to a woman. Like when I first started dating my fiance, I told her like this is my wife. Like, and she kept saying, "Well, I was like, I don't need to go to. I can confess my love to you before God, and I'm good on that." You know what I'm saying? But I understand following by the laws of the land, and that's when you go to the extra steps. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But men didn't always need courthouses, you know what I'm saying, to marry nobody.
Even in Africa, they don't need it.
Go again.
So,
but you follow by the laws of the land,
Right.
Yeah, I agree. It was just so much that was going on. I was like, man, I wish my daddy was here. Man, I wish Collis was here. And then,
but I'd have came on. I would agree with him in an extent because I teach that marriage is a business. It's covenant and it's business. And the reason why I say it's business, you're building.
Correct.
Any marriage, you're building finances together, you're building a future together. All those are business aspects in your partnership. When you partnership, so you got cars, you got assets. Whenever you deal with assets, It's business. You know, that's why with divorces, you have to bring in lawyers. Why? Because we didn't build part of it that is business wise. And what did your lawyer do? The lawyer just saw not the business part. That's all he separate the asset, the house, all of that. That's the business part. That's what he come in at, you know, for that. You know, so on that take, look at daughter sitting there shaking her head. Look at her shaking
conversations going though, because it generates more views and more energy towards what we're doing. We'll just keep this thing rolling. What's going on with I do got one question before I get up out of it. What's going on with buddy?
I asked about him earlier, but she'll hit you on the inbox. She'll hit you on the inbox.
All right, I'll check it out.
Your inbox, Nate. I mean, he said he was running errands today, and with him running the errands, you know.
I was just wondering. I make sure it wasn't nothing serious and nothing like that. As long as it's not.
We did her daughter talk, and I'm pretty sure after the show she'll reach out to you.
All right, gotcha. All right, y'all. Love, respect,
love,
appreciation.
Thank you all so much. Bye.
Take out that trash. Take out that trash.
Y'all a mess. I can't take out nobody's trash. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for joining Let's Deal With It talk show with your host, Victoria Nicole Hooks, and my co-host that was on here tonight. I thought it was just amazing that we were able to sit here and have a dialogue with you and talk with you all. And so, y'all don't try again go from Vicky now because the other lady goes out of business. You see how they did me, Priscilla? Thank you for sticking with me. And so next week we got some great conversation. We're still going to be dealing with men. We're going to be still dealing with relationships because we know it's necessary to talk about. We know it's necessary. And I know for a fact that you guys are like, hey, I need you to come down my road. So if I haven't came down your road and I haven't answered questions or we haven't answered questions for you, bring those conversations to us so we can deal with it. I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining in. Keep us lifted in prayer. Keep Nate lifted in prayer. Keep myself, Dr. Talbert, Tia, Collis, keep us all lifted in prayer because we definitely need it. And so, hey, it's great conversation, but we deal with real topics and real issues. And so make sure you guys share this broadcast. Make sure you tell somebody about it and let them know, hey, whatever problems you're having, just check out Let's Deal With It talk show. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube. We are definitely on Periscope and we are on Instagram. So we just want you all to know, hey, we want you to be a part. And again, we love you guys. And so if you guys, anything of tonight you enjoy, I encourage all of you to go to nolongeronmute.com or $ No Longer On Mute. The more you guys help us build this platform, the more your funds will see the big difference in how this show will turn out to be for all of us. Be blessed. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your Saturday. And we will talk to you guys next week. Until next time, thank you so much for joining Let's Deal With It talk show. Bye-bye.